Good morning, everyone, and happy Friday. Welcome to the opening drive on 101 ESPN, where it's 7 o'clock. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Brooke Grimsley, Danny Mack, Matthew Rocchio, Randy Carricker. Good to have you with us. Hope you are tuned in either on the radio or on the 101 ESPN app or one of these newfangled things. We have this Air Alliance Team Studio Cam where you can actually watch us every morning. All you need to do is go to the old youtube.com and type in 101 ESPN STL. You can watch us and you can hear us for the entire show. And we wish you would subscribe to our YouTube channel. How are we doing, kids?
Oh, I'm doing great. How about you guys? It's a little drabby outside.
Yeah.
Not great. Meh outside.
Yeah.
But it's still Friday, Randy.
It is Friday, and that means we're headed towards the weekend where we don't have to wake up early, but do anyway.
Yeah, you're kind of in the habit of doing that, aren't you?
Yeah.
You get up early. I was up by 4:45 today, ready to go, doing a ton of research for the show, preparing myself mentally, physically. To make it through the 3 hours, and I think I will.
And you got us sliced bagels. So that's another thing you did this morning for us.
Got your sliced bagels. Brooke, dive in. I know your wedding's around the corner. But you should dive in. Make sure you stay hydrated. Make sure you stay with your nutrition. And, just pound some bagels.
No.
Can you grab the bag for us, please? I want to explain to the nation. Matthew's got it. Okay. We had a controversy here. It became a national thing. It was in USA Today. People, for whatever reason, don't understand the concept of the quality of the bread sliced bagel. So I've been trying to tell America what the bread sliced bagel is.
They're in this one, Randall.
They're in this one? Okay, good.
Yep.
This one has the cream cheese, by the way. Okay, so here's the deal. At Panera, if you're in your town perhaps, in St. Louis at St. Louis Bread Company, we get bagels, these delicious cinnamon crunch bagels. We get them bread sliced like this. Sorry, I'm touching these, but I did clean up.
Yeah, I was going to say you grabbed the whole thing.
So
here you go, Randall. Here's some napkins.
Thank you very much. So here's the deal with the bread sliced bagel, kids, and you see them on the YouTube right now. And if you aren't seeing them, you can always go back and watch us again. But get a cinnamon sliced bagel. The cinnamon's on the top, right? Get a normally sliced bagel. You've got the bottom with no cinnamon on it and the top with a ton of cinnamon. You get bread sliced and you get that delicious cinnamon crunch taste and texture every single bite you take. It's genius. Or the rest of the country is just not that smart. I don't know. But anybody who would complain about it is just missing the boat completely. So anyway, if you're going to go to Panera, a.k.a. St. Louis Bread Company here in St. Louis, ask for the Cinnamon Crunch Bagel bread sliced, and it will change your life. Thank you, Dan, for changing our lives this morning.
Thank you.
Do you have an advertisement deal with them?
I do not, but I should.
You should.
Here's the thing. I don't know about you guys, but for my family and I, Breadco is kind of like a utility. We're there like 4, 5, 6 times. It's unbelievable how often we are there. It's like you have to use the gas company, you have to use the electric company, you have to use the water company. We have to use Breadco. It's just one of those parts of life that we go to all the time.
Did it bother you guys? I just want to know, nationally, when it started to go out there nationally, that it went to Panera instead of staying St. Louis Breadco?
Kind of, but I get it. You know, it's it's you don't want to go into Chicago with St. Louis Bread Company or KC where they hate us. So it's fine. Panera's good.
You know where to go. You know where to get your bagels. So you were fine with it, Randall.
Well, and we know that it's Breadco. We know that it's really Breadco. So we can say, you go to New York or Phoenix or whatever. It's we know that if there's a Panera there, it's a Breadco.
Randy, you need to talk to the Fenton Bar and Grill about maybe adding these to your menu.
Let's get up early, Fenton Bar and Grill. Let's not be up at 11:30 open. You're going to get a text from a few of them.
They wouldn't like that, I bet.
I would think that they would not want to have the bakers getting in at midnight.
Not whatsoever. So I think a lot of us were up watching last night with the NFL draft.
It was awesome.
It was. A lot of quarterbacks, but maybe the biggest surprise, guys, I'm still shocked by this. And check in on your Atlanta Falcons fans today. Anthony Salter, we should check in with him today. I'm sure he'll have a great rant about this.
Anthony understands winning, though. He gets it.
Michael Penix Jr., though, going to the Falcons. Why did you sign Kirk Cousins to a 4-year, $180 million contract?
Because you're going to win. And you're going to win big, and you're never going to be in a position where you can draft in the top 10 again. So if you're going to get a quarterback, you darn well better get him right now. because next year you're winning 11 games or 12, and you're going to be picking in the 20s, and there's not going to be a Michael Penix there for you. And you're building a program, so when Kirk Cousins is going to play next year at 36 and is 37. When he's 38, you've got a guy ready to step in. Theoretically, a good organization should have a player ready to step in at every position when somebody ages out or leaves. And that's why the Greatest Show on Turf under Vermeil was so good, because they built a program rather than just a football team.
Well, apparently, go ahead, Brooke.
No, I was going to say, are you going to say what I was thinking, too, about apparently that Cousins' agent, Mike McCartney, told ESPN's Pete Thamel that the Falcons only notified Kirk Cousins that they picked Penix while the team was on the clock. So maybe that is the most surprising part about all this, because I get, and they talked about afterwards about the whole Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love saga and how that's what they're looking towards. But maybe you should let Kirk Cousins in on that.
How much money did they give him?
What do they owe him?
I guess
He's $100 million guaranteed.
So they'll say you should be happy about that.
I just don't think you should, take your money. You know you're going to be the starter. It may be for only 2 years, but they paid you, so just deal with it.
He signed as the quarterback, not the GM.
That's where I'm at, and you're going to get your money that's guaranteed. So they let him know when they're making the pick. Now, from his perspective, he could say, I wanted a different weapon, add to what I have. I'm just saying. I mean, he could look at it from that perspective.
He can say that, but they took last year they took Bijan Robinson. The year before that, they took Drake London. The year before that, they took Kyle Pitts?
Yes.
They're loaded with weapons. That's one of the reasons that they signed him, because they were the proverbial quarterback away. They've got a good defense. They've got a good offensive line. They've got the receivers. They've got the running back. They were a quarterback away. And if he's not ready to go, 35-year-old guy that tore an Achilles, now they've got somebody, and they don't have to deal with Desmond Ridder anymore.
And that was the part I thought, too, is the torn Achilles. There's no guarantees. I mean, it seems like you'll come back from that, but there's no guarantees. To your point, Randy, so 2021 was Kyle Pitts, number 4 overall. Then they had Drake London in 22, the wide receiver, Bijan Robinson, the running back in 23, and now Michael Penix Jr., number 8 overall here in 24. So he does have weapons, but, for his agent to be upset they didn't let him know, so what?
Yeah, chill.
Tough.
Chill, dude.
It seemed like everybody was surprised. Did you also see the owner come down and they were explaining it to him as well? So this seems like a pretty well-kept secret to everybody except for the head coach and GM. And they did say afterwards, though, they talked about Aaron Rodgers and everything with Jordan Love. And to the Packers' credit, it has worked out for him. So maybe it is a good formula to follow.
And Aaron Rodgers was taken with Brett Favre there. Now, does it always work? Did it work when the Broncos took Tommy Maddox? Not exactly. But if you have faith in your scouts, and if you have the courage of your convictions, like Terry Fontenot does, apparently, their general manager, then I'm fine with a pick like that. I didn't think anybody, I know that was the stunner of the draft. Yeah. I didn't think anybody really screwed it up. When the Rams came to St. Louis, my buddy Jay Zygmunt said, one of the great things about drafting is that the Cardinals are in the league, and we know there's always going to be somebody there that we don't expect to be there, because they're going to take somebody that nobody expects them to take. I didn't think that there were any real shockers.
What about Buffalo?
That's
Buffalo
what I was going to say.
Trading the pick with Xavier Worthy, but there's a lot of receivers in this draft, and they can. And then they traded out of 32 at the end of the draft, also, so Carolina could get back in, but. Look at Green Bay. It's been, Brooke, did you have the stat? It's been since 1992 that the Packers have taken a 2002, yeah. Since the Packers have taken a wide receiver or running back or tight end in the draft.
Yes.
Boy, that's hard to believe.
Yeah.
With the success that they've had at times with their offense, so it tells you that, you know what, the formula probably does work. Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre to Rodgers, Rodgers to Love. It just seems to work. And if you're Michael Penix, you probably get, if things go right, you get a couple of years to sit and learn everything that it's going to take to be a number one.
And if you're Buffalo, you say, okay, well, our guy that's $47 million this year, he's going to make the people that we get better, like Aaron Rodgers did with people like Devontae Adams and Randall Cobb and that gang. When you're paying a quarterback that much, he should have the ability to elevate those around him.
I think this is a good text. 636 says, why do we lament these franchises that are QB killers by not giving them time to learn, then turn around and criticize Atlanta for picking up Penix?
Great point.
Yep, I think that's right.
I think it is. I think it's a great point as well. well, and it works, but I'm just very interested in the way that it all developed. I guess that's the biggest thing is how it all went down. But with Kirk Cousins, he gets his contract either way, so he should be happy. I just thought it was very interesting that they noted that his agent said that he didn't find out until the pick was in, basically.
You guys nailed the Arizona pick, which I'm fine with, Marvin Harrison, Maserati Marv. I would have taken Neighbors, but 6 1/2 dozen of the other.
Well, you're wrong.
Tomato. I know.
You're wrong.
But here's the interesting
I got a
pick.
future Hall of Famer in Phoenix now.
What is your deal with Marvin Harrison?
I love him. I know it.
Yeah, he's
I'm fixated on him. I love it.
I think it was on ESPN. They said 20 years ago they took Larry Fitzgerald. This is the next Larry Fitzgerald. The one that interested me is that the Chargers, who traded Keenan Allen and cut Mike Williams, you think, they're going to take Neighbors. And
go with
Joe
offensive
Ortiz,
tackle.
their general manager said, even with Justin Herbert on the team, he said, the superstars on our team are going to be the offensive linemen. And they take Joe Alt. And it's going to be, I guess we should have expected it, it's going to be a Jim Harbaugh team.
I was going to say, isn't that just... That's Jim Harbaugh to a T. Load up big up front, be able to do what you want to protect the QB. And it's a passing league. That's something to keep in mind. I mean, I look at that second half that Michigan had against Penn State, and a lot of people held that against J.J. McCarthy, and I'm like, they're averaging 7 yards on the ground.
And that's a game where he didn't throw a pass in the second half,
Did not throw a pass in the second half. Why would you? Just keep running the football. And it was kind of held against J.J. McCarthy.
Well, here's the other part of this. You look to the pros. What do you want to do against Kansas City? You want to keep the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands. So what do? You keep handing it off to Gus Edwards, and they signed another free agent, and they'll draft somebody today. They'll probably draft Corum in this draft, and they'll have 40 minutes of possession time every week. By the way, Matthew, is Slater playing? Rashawn Slater, I wonder who's going to be the left tackle for the Chargers. Because Alt played left.
That's like it's so like that's all I've been thinking about the last.
Really?
All I've been thinking about is who do you put on left, who do you put on the right side.
Yeah.
Slater's shown a lot of I think he'd probably start Joe Alt on the right side.
There was a story on ESPN Radio last weekend. Joe Alt and there was another freshman at Notre Dame, and it was a sophomore at Notre Dame. Alt was a freshman, and they put Alt at right tackle. And then the other guy got hurt, so they put him at left tackle. And the other guy got healthy, and the coaches said, "Okay, you're going back to right tackle." He said, "No, I'm not." Alt said, "No, I'm the left tackle."
Yeah, fine with that, and he was.
Yeah,
and he was really good.
Yeah.
By the way, MIZ with another first-round pick.
Yes.
Darius Robinson is now a member of the Arizona Cardinals. Go Big Red.
I'm so excited for him. He has had such a great journey with Mizzou, and you just love to see him get rewarded in that way.
He's a good player. Brooke J.C. Latham, tackle, goes to Tennessee. They expected Alt to be there.
I expected Alt to be there. It's fine. I don't really have any other feelings about it because we continue to go out and get offensive linemen during the draft, and hopefully one of these will pan out.
Yeah. Another one, and it wasn't a stunner because it's the Bears, but the Bears traded for Allen. Last year they traded for G.J. Moore. They've got a premier pair of veteran receivers.
Yeah.
And then they go out and draft Rome Odunze from Washington.
They're going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, they're going to have a lot with Caleb Williams. If they can keep him upright, they're going to be fun to watch.
I want to go back to Mizzou just for a moment. This may shock a lot of people, but first-round draft pick since 2009. Mizzou with 9. Mississippi State with 7. Tennessee 7. South Carolina 6, Auburn 6, Ole Miss 6, Texas 6, Kentucky 3, Arkansas 2, Vanderbilt none. Think of the first-round picks that Missouri has put out since 2009. That's incredible.
15 years. That's really an impressive run.
Sure is.
For MIZ.
And we didn't touch on the Broncos either. What do you guys think about what they're building over there with Sean Payton? We know that he's supposed to be the quarterback whisperer. You have Bo Nix, and you have Zach Wilson. What is that going to look like for them?
Well, here's the thing. I think that's a situation where they took a quarterback because he happened to be a quarterback.
And they needed one, and they had to do it.
Yeah, 26 years old, right? Nix is?
Yep.
And he might turn out to be okay, but that's a weird one. And then the team that really got screwed, because I'm sure the Raiders expected a quarterback to be there at 13, but 6 quarterbacks go in the first 12, and the Raiders are going to have to go with Aiden O'Connell.
I wonder how much they tried to offer to move up, because they had to try.
Yeah.
They tried with Washington, and maybe they didn't try it hard. Maybe they just didn't see this coming. Atlanta messed everything up for teams like that.
You know what I love is when the coaches and the GMs are done making the pick, and they say, "This is the guy we originally wanted anyway." This is who we wanted.
We were shocked that he was there.
We were just absolutely shocked that he fell to 12 or whatever it is. It's crazy. I mean, it's fun. I wanted to see more action. We didn't get it, but still is a lot of fun. By the way, the texter says Bo Nix is 24, not 26. That might make some sense. He had the COVID year.
6 years, yeah. Okay, 6 years of college. That's what I'm thinking, 6 years of college. Okay.
He is 24. The COVID year just throws everything off.
Yeah.
Then he could be a redshirt freshman. There's so many layers to that.
Right. A couple of other notes. Number one, no defensive players taken until number 15 when
How
the
about
Colts
that?
took
Wow.
Leatu Lalu.
Yeah, you got it.
Latu. They took Latu.
They took 2.
Yeah.
You call him 2. You're on the show.
You got the hard part out easier.
Yeah.
Leatu was impressive. That was good.
Yeah, that was great.
Thank you. Appreciate that. The other thing that I found interesting, not that there were no running backs, no linebackers, no safeties. It's corners, it's edge rushers. There was one defensive tackle taken, but it's offensive linemen, it's receivers, it's quarterbacks.
Yep.
If you didn't believe that it was an offensive league, look at the draft. And it's still, look at the teams that played in the Super Bowl, it's still an offensive league. That's the way it is. That's Dan, that's Brooke, I'm Randy. Coming up, the Cardinals are not really doing great relative to other years in terms of ticket sales. What would get you back into Busch Stadium? That's next on 101 ESPN.
by Sumner One.
Interesting piece in the Business Journal about the lack of butts in the seats at Cardinal games these days. And obviously a 71-win season is going to contribute to that. But it used to be a rite of passage that even if the Cardinals had a down year, that people would attend. Since the 90s, since they came back from the strike, and since the 96 season, the Cardinals fans have been known as the BFIB because they always show up and they're always attentive, and the players always say they're so knowledgeable. But then you start losing a little bit. And as we've talked about, I think there is some Mo fatigue there. I think winning would probably solve some of that Mo fatigue. But the question that I have is, with that, are people ever going to come back to ballparks again? And are they? What would it take to get people back to this ballpark? You can text us. You can leave us a mic drop.
You hit it on the head. I think it's really an easy answer. It's winning. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people have recency bias off a terrible season that was last year. I think if you're looking for examples of what's happening this year, losing, they're under 500. I think the weather has had something to do with that. There's been some cold nights when they're scheduled to play some night games. Kids in school, that's always something that is a factor early on. Here's a question for you. Is there a star on this team that would make you want to go down and buy a ticket? Now, Albert was that. I think Yachty had a little bit of that. Matt Holliday had a little bit of that. And is there a star now that you would say, I'm going to buy a ticket solely because I can go see this player? That's something to think about. One final thing to think about is the TV situation. I do think that has had an impact on people going down to the ballpark. If it's out of sight, it's out of mind. And what the Cardinals have done historically on the TV broadcast is that you are always promoting something. There's Johnny Bobblehead, or there's, come down to this portion of the ballpark, enjoy this on a Tuesday night, do this on a Saturday. If you don't see it, you don't know, and you don't go. And I think those are all factors as to why maybe attendance has been down. But the number one thing for me is they're just not winning, and that's number one. And
that's the thing, is that you want to go, if you're going to go and spend your money, which we know that things are tight. A lot of people don't have a lot of extra money that they can go and spend on other things that you would put in the entertainment category. But that's the thing, is that if you are going to go spend money like that, you want to be entertained. And after a 71-win, 91-loss season, I think fans are in wait-and-see mode. They want to wait and see. And when you have the organization preaching patience when it comes to things, I think fans are doing the same. They're just waiting it out and seeing. Now, if you put an exciting product out in the field and then you're starting to win, people are going to want to go and see that. I think there's a lot to do with that.
I mean, they're in last place.
Exactly.
Right.
And they finished last a year ago.
But, guys, I was at the game, the day game on Wednesday, and there were a bunch of kids in the upper deck that were absolutely thrilled to be there. And it didn't matter whether the team was going to win or lose that day. They wound up winning 5-1. But kids like being there. And in those games, the Cardinals had offered $6 tickets. I get an email for every homestand where there's $4, $5, $6, $7 tickets every single time.
So not being affordable is not an excuse for me.
Me either. And by the way, this is, if you've ever purchased tickets from the Cardinals, you're on their email list. You're getting the same emails that I'm getting. It's not because I'm a member of the media. And in addition to that, the Cardinals do, and they've got it on their website, you can take a soft-side cooler in. You can load up a soft-side cooler that fits under the seat, and you can take in 4 sandwiches and 4 bottles of water. You can't take in beer, but if you're going to the game with your kids, you don't want to get sloshed anyway. So if you want to take your family, you can get $6 tickets. You can pay $10 for parking if you park at the 7th Street garage. And what is that? 6, 12, 24, 34. You can get your family into a game for less than $50.
From the 3 and 4, I would buy a ticket to watch Mason win. And this is to your question, Dan. I would buy a ticket to watch Mason win, but overall, the team is mediocre. Now, I don't think that this team is exactly mediocre, but your numbers are what you are. So I can't exactly counter that at this moment.
I'm not going to give them that much credit either, Brooke.
I was going to say, now, another reason I would go to see a game, I would go to see a game that Sonny Gray is pitching. Personally, if I'm going to go spend my money, I'm going to pick a day where Sonny Gray is pitching.
Vandy boy, absolutely.
Of course I will. But he's an exciting, the intensity that he brings, maybe even Lance Lynn. But offensively, with where they're at right now, I can understand with what you're talking about because they are in the bottom category about every single stat when you're looking at hitting wise. And that's not exciting. I think that people want to see home runs. You don't have to do it all the time, but they are not producing any home runs. 16 right now on the season.
I don't know if I think it's a combination. Home runs, but is there an exciting player you want to go see? Now, Mason Wynn, when he's running first to third or first to home.
That was awesome.
That's exciting. Yep. And is it the brand of baseball that you don't like, which is somewhat station to station? And there's a reason it's station to station because they're just not getting on base all that much. The on-base percentage has been roughly 300. So where's the offense? And we always say this, when you don't have a good offense in baseball, you look lackluster, and that's for the team. And I would say it extends to the fan base as well.
More of your texts. This one from the 217. I have to worry about someone breaking into my truck window looking for guns. That's
I
think it's legitimate. People have issues going downtown.
Here's one from the 636. I'm one of the few fans that'll go to the game, win or lose, because I like being at Busch Stadium. It's a beautiful view, the birds on the bat, watching my favorite team play my favorite sport. Yes, I want to see wins, but at the end of the day, being at Busch Stadium is just a great experience on its own.
I think a lot of people feel that way. And if you take downtown St. Louis, circle 60 miles and say that's the Cardinals St. Louis fan base, outside of that, it's roughly 60 to 70% coming from outside that circle on weekends, on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And those people are planning vacations in the summer. Some of them are season ticket holders, and they come to the ballpark all the time. I think a lot of times, too, when you look at the text line, it's a lot of negativity towards this, and I don't think it's the entire feeling of the fan base. I think there's certain people, like the 217, that say, I just enjoy going to a ball game, and that's cool, too.
This one, most parking garages, including 7th Street, are $20 and above. Okay, so let's say you're paying $20 for parking. Okay, you pay $6 a ticket for a family of 4 or 5. Let's say it's $30. So there you're up to 50. You're going to eat dinner at home, right? So let's just figure that you make a dinner at home. Make some turkey sandwiches and put them in a cooler and eat dinner at the ballpark and get some bottles of water before you go into the ballpark. You don't have to spend $200 or $300 to go to a game. That's my point.
I do get that. I have no self-control in those situations because you guys know I am. If there's good food around, then I'm going to take advantage of it. So I go in with that idea that I'm not going to spend a certain amount, and I will even not bring cash with me or anything like that. And somehow I still come away spending a lot more money than I thought because I'm like, oh, that's cute. I got to get that. Or, oh, there's this new hot dog that I have to get, like the Cohen's Kosher Deli dog with pastrami on it. I can't pass that up anytime that I go to the ballpark.
Pastrami. Right.
It's so
but
good.
I'm mostly talking to the people that say they just can't afford it. And I get that.
I do.
You have to have you have to be disciplined,
income.
right? But you have to be disciplined with the money that you do have. And my point is, if you're willing to look at the email, and if you're willing to do it this way, you don't have to spend $200 or $300 or $400 to go to a game. You can get into a game for $50 and take your family.
If I was looking at like putting number 1 winning, number 2 would be so far down on my list of space that I had on my chart. It comes down to winning. If you win, it's probably an exciting product. It's fun to go to the ballpark as a Cardinal fan if they're winning. And I just think that's what it comes down to. Now, this was interesting, and we've had a few texts about this. The game being sped up changes things, too. It's not just, quote, a day at the ballpark anymore. That's kind of interesting. You know, you go down and it's only 2.5 hours, where before you're looking at least a 3-hour and 10-minute game. That was the average at one point. That's kind of an interesting point. I hadn't thought about that.
But I prefer the action of it. A hockey game's only 2.5 hours.
I'm with you. If I'm going to watch a game, I prefer a sped up game, but I just think that's interesting to look at how some people say, you know what, I didn't want it sped up anyway because I love the beauty of the sport, which was slow at that time.
And there are people that have complained that they can't drink as much beer in a 2.5 hour game as they could in a 3 hour game.
I just always planned that if I do go, then I have to go earlier than I used to prior to the pitch clock and all the changes that they've made. That's what because I did. There was one day where I kind of went the normal time, and then I was like, whoa, things are moving way quicker than I thought.
Dodger fan on us, huh?
Basically, and I don't have the traffic excuse. I just thought I could kind of mosey in, and action was moving a little bit quicker because I went to go get that have you had that Shack chicken sandwich that they have there where it has the donut? I went to go get that, and that took a little bit longer than I expected, and I came back and went, whoa, where are we in this game? Like, I already wasted too much time.
Right. Let me ask one other question here, because the Cubs have this. Do you think and this is down the road because we need legalized sports gambling in Missouri, but would having a sports book at the ballpark change things?
Over at Ballpark Village, maybe put it in there, make that one level that sometimes you go to. It's the Cardinals restaurant, I think, not the bottom level, but the second level. Yeah, I think it makes a difference. I really do. Do you think that too?
I think it would too.
How about you, Brooke? Do you think that?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
And just put in a place in a room with really good internet, and just be able to, if you could bet from your phone inside the ballpark pitch to pitch, I think it would make a difference.
And prop bets all over the place. A lot of prop bets.
Got to be careful with those, but yes.
You know, how many pitches does Sonny Gray throw this inning? Over, under, stuff like that. Yeah. You can get that.
Oh, definitely, yeah. And that's one of the cool things is they're so good about promotions over at the ballpark. And if once they get that thing in there, they can have Jonte Porter bobblehead night.
Oh, Randy.
Throw out the first pitch, maybe?
Yeah.
Randy. Dan, come on. Now I have to do the dance.
I'm going to encourage him on this one. It made me laugh. He did make me giggle a little bit.
Made you giggle a little bit?
I did giggle a little bit.
Guy?
Oh, yeah.
Randy, shut up. Now you're making me laugh. I don't want you to do that.
Oh, so what, make you laugh?
Well, I want to laugh. I don't want to laugh at your jokes. Okay. I want to smile. I want to enjoy the show. I just don't know if I want to go down your road of how you enjoy the show.
Because once it gets rolling, Dan,
that's
you
what
know
I'm saying.
when you're starting there.
You go down that rabbit hole, it's not good.
I haven't told you what we got coming up on the show. So
tell me what we have going here,
Randy.
Randy.
Jay Delsing coming up. We're going to talk some golf with Jay Delsing. We've got Chris May, the athletics director at St. Louis University. His new coach is all over it. His new men's basketball coach, Josh Schertz. We're going to talk to our buddy, allegedly. Well, not allegedly our buddy, but we're allegedly going to talk to Howard Balzer, who was scheduled to join us yesterday. Had his alarm set for PM rather than AM. Happens, right? So the H-Man is going to join us at 7 o'clock his time. And then Heidi Watney is going to be on the call for the Cardinal game tonight. It's an Apple game. And Heidi Watney of Apple TV will join us coming up at 9:30. But next up, talking some golf. Well, man, a lot going on with golf these days. Jay Delsing is next on 101 ESPN.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. Last night in the NFL draft, there was a record-setting run of quarterbacks and offensive players. To start the draft, it was halfway through the first round before the first defensive player was selected by the Indianapolis Colts. And speaking of defensive players, the Missouri Tigers continue their run with their first rounder since 2017, with defensive lineman Darius Robinson going 27th overall to the Cardinals. Speaking of the Cardinals in baseball, they will start a 3-game series in Queens tonight. It'll be Miles Michaelis, the righty for the Cardinals, facing off against the righty for the Mets, Jose Butto. Butto on the season is 0-0 with a 1.65 ERA. Michaelis on the season 1-3 with a 6.49 ERA. Last night in the NHL playoffs, the Panthers take a commanding 3-0 lead over the Lightning with a 5-3 win. The Canes also taking a 3-0 lead in their series with a 3-2 win over the Islanders. In the NBA playoffs, the Cavaliers get blasted by the Magic. They're still leading 2-1 in that series. The Knicks finally fall to the 76ers. That's the first win for the 76ers. They're down 2-1, and the Nuggets take a commanding 3-0 lead of their own with a 112-105 win over the Lakers. That is your Sports Center update driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
Some golf with our friend Jay Delsing. He and Dan McLaughlin bring you golf with Jay Delsing every Sunday morning, 8 to 10 here on 101 ESPN. Good morning, Jay. How you doing?
I am doing great. How are you guys?
Everything's terrific. Good. Not as good as it is for Rory McIlroy and Tiger Woods, who are going to get, apparently, $50 and $100 million, respectively, for not going to live. That's a pretty good deal.
It's like getting paid for paying your mortgage.
Yeah.
You know, it's a participation trophy world we're in. I'm confused by the whole thing. 193 players get to split $1.5 billion, and who's 194? and who gets cut off? You know, like where are they? They're drawing the line. There's supposedly some formula that they've come up with, and it's weighted more for this current level of player. But boy, you got to think of Jack Nicklaus. Not that Jack cares or needs any more money, but you got to think, man, where was this when I was playing?
I think a lot of people are thinking that. Sticking with Rory McIlroy just for a second here, what are your thoughts about him reportedly rejoining the PGA Tour Policy Board?
You know what, Brooke? I'm so glad you brought that up because I am a fan of Rory, but, man, it has been hard to follow him lately. He has said and done everything. He has moonwalked. He has taken things back. I can't figure out what he's doing. He withdrew, just for the folks that don't know, he withdrew from the policy board about 4 months ago and said it's personal reasons. I need some time with my family. And now all of a sudden, Webb Simpson was dropping off per the regulations of the board, and Rory has been. I'm not sure if Rory was appointed that. I'm thinking he was, because it just seems, it just seems odd to me, Brooke. I cannot follow Rory and what he's got going on right now. I appreciate him, feeling lousy when the PGA Tour stabbed him in the back with all the live stuff. But this is, I don't know, another weird one for me. I'm not exactly sure. I was going to spend more time with my family. Now I'm not, because I'm going to do this again. So you can't say anything in today's world, guys. It's all recorded, and everybody's got records of it, and it comes back to bite you.
So be careful on what you say here, Jay. We'll come back and make sure that the world hears it. I'm kidding. You are always
Danny,
outstanding on this.
The size 13 fits nicely in this mouth. Sure. It is done for a long, long time.
Hey, Jay, this may shock a lot of people, but Scotty Scheffler, well, he wins again. That's not going to shock anybody, but Scotty's caddy, Ted Scott, has made this year more on the course than top pros, which is amazing in his earnings as a caddy. Can you explain how the caddies are paid and how that works?
Yeah, and in fact, I think I'm thinking about putting my hat in the ring for some of these caddies, because the caddies are making so much more money than we did when we were playing. It's a joke. So what happens, guys, is that, so for folks that don't know, Ted Scott is working for Chef right now. He won his fourth Masters a couple weeks ago with Scotty. It's Scotty's second. Scotty has won He won his first two with Bubba Watson, and in 2012 and 2014. So when you win a tournament on the PGA Tour, the standard payment, and Scotty may even be paying him more, but the standard payment is 10% of the prize money. So Scotty made just about $4 million for winning at Augusta, and so Ted's going to get $400,000. That's on top of his weekly salary, which is probably somewhere in the ballpark of $2,500 to probably as high as $4,000. Now, Scotty's different. Obviously, he's making a boatload of money and will pay at a much higher level. Most of the caddies on tour make about $1,500 a week, and that usually, guys, they need to do their expenses out of that number. And then they'll get the customary 10% if they win, and most caddies will get 5% on everything that's not a top 10, 7% on a top 10, and then 10% on a win. When we were playing and there was so little money, my first deal with my caddy was you get $200 for the week. You get $250 if I make the cut, and then you get your 5, 7, and 10. So if we made a cut, he got an extra $50 because that was basically what I was told when I first got my tour card. This is what you have to pay your caddies. That's what we were doing back in the day.
Hey, Jay, traditionally, between majors, the players have taken some time to recharge their batteries. Do you think that moving the PGA to May, and it's going to take place May 19th at Valhalla, May 16th through 19th, but the Sunday is at Valhalla. Do you think moving the PGA Championship to May has kind of hurt some of these tournaments between the Masters and what traditionally has been the U.S. Open?
Oh, I think so for sure, Randy. It's a great call because especially like this week, we have a team event in the middle of two majors. And whenever we had a team event, historically, it was always back at the end of the year. We had there's the mixed team event that we used to have. It used to be sponsored by J.C. Penney's, where we would play with someone from the LPGA Tour, and that was always at the end of the year, along with a PGA Tour team event we used to have, where it was at the end of the year as a way to supplement your income. It was kind of a fun tournament to have, and now we've got one of those right in the middle of the schedule, and it's happening this week down at Zurich. So, and they do not. I mean, they've got some good players in there, but they do not essentially get much of a quality field. And so that's a great point that the top 15 or 20 players that are really, really major championship focused are not going to play that in this event very often.
How about the team format, Jay, and how it works? Explain that to the casual fan that's listening this morning.
Oh, it's super fun. So yesterday they played a best ball, so each guy gets to play his own ball. They'll play an alternate shot. That's where the rubber meets the road in this tournament. Where players have to kind of be on their game, which is really interesting because for those that don't know about an alternate shot, is that, Danny, you hit your tee shot and yours goes down the middle.
Yes, thank you, Jay.
And then I have to go. See what I got you? And then I go and I hit, and then I hit the next one and I pull it over in the left bunker, and then you're going to have to try to get out of the bunker, and it goes like that. So, man, you see some players hit some shots, and they look at their partner like, yeesh, I'm sorry about that, man. You got to go over there and, figure out what's over there. When I was playing in the mixed team, I played with this young lady. Her name was Penny Hamill. She was a great player. She won 4 or 5 times on the LPGA Tour. And, guys, I played with her 3 years in a row, and she never missed one fairway. And I probably hit half of my fairways back then. And she said to me in the middle of the third round, "Are you trying to hit a fairway?" That's what she asked me. "Are you trying to hit a fairway?" And I said, "Penny," I said, "these shots in the woods are not that hard. You just got to hit a low and you get." And she's like, "Yeah, I don't ever hit it over there." I go, "Well, this is good practice. This is really good practice for you." But she looked at me like, "Gosh," and it's a weird feeling, guys, to go ahead and foul one off and it goes into the woods, and then you walk down the middle and hit where you're playing, where your partner, put you right out in the middle of the fairway. So I think I wore her out after 3 years. I think she got a new partner after that.
Okay, last thing then. We're going to allow you for this weekend to put together your dream team. So Scheffler is going to be one of your guys, I would guess. Who else are you picking to play with? Is that right? Scheffler's part of your team because of his iron game?
Oh, is this? I'm going to put together my best player.
Yeah, your two-man team for Zurich this weekend. Who would you have?
Oh my gosh, yeah, Randy. Right now, I put Scheffler and probably you could put Brad Faxon, who's my age, and could just roll in a bunch of putts and has a great short game. I mean, those guys are going to kill it. I would pick someone like almost Denny McCarthy, who has been one of the best putters on the PGA Tour for the last, 4 or 5 years. He usually finishes in the top 3 or 4 in putting, and that's a name that not many people know. But right now, you could put Sheff with anybody. Did you see what Tony Romo said, who plays with him all the time at home, says that he has played
never
with
shot
him
over. He said 500 rounds and never shot over par that he's seen, right?
Yeah. Now, Tony might have been hit in the head once or twice too often with his counting. But yeah, he said he's never shot over 70.
Wow.
That's incredible.
So whatever Scheffler's doing, it's pretty amazing. And he's such a nice man, and everybody almost dislikes him because he's so nice. It's interesting. People say to me, "Is he really that nice?" And I'm like, he really is. He really is just exactly what you see. And unfortunately, that doesn't sell too well in our world today.
Yeah, by the way, Pavin Smith hits a lot of home runs against the Cardinals. He's named after your friend, Corey Pavin. When he hits a home run, do you kind of cheer for him a little bit?
No.
Okay, good.
No, not
good.
Against the Cardinals. I can't cheer. Man, the Cardinals there's just not a lot to cheer for these days. And so when Pavin Smith hits, man, he won, what did he have, 6 RBI the other night?
Mm-hmm. He's got 3 games and 11 RBI against the Cardinals in his career with 3 home runs. That's pretty good.
Yeah. What's up with that? Yeah. We need better pitching.
There you go.
And better hitting. Yeah, better pitching against him. Who do you guys have on the show on Sunday?
We have Justin Barget. Justin graduated from Chaminade. He won the Missouri Amateur. He played college golf at Colorado. He is working for the PGA Tour right now, and he's working in a newly created position called the PGA Tour Pathways. So it's cool, Randy. He is helping younger players figure out how to go from the college ranks, or maybe they're European players and they come over here and try and figure out how to get onto the PGA Tour. So whether it's the PGA Tour of Americas, which is the Canadian Tour and the South American Tour, or it's PGA Tour University, which is where Ludwig Aubert came from. So, yeah, Justin's got a really cool position with the PGA Tour, and it's a brand new thing, so we just kind of talked to him a little bit about that.
Looking forward to it. Thank you, sir. Have a great weekend.
You guys too. Thank you.
That's our buddy Jay Delsing on 101 ESPN. Coming up, we've got Take It or Leave It. Send in your text to the Air Comfort Service text line, 314-399-9646, 314-399. Yo-ho! TIOLI coming your way.
Yo-ho.
On 101 ESPN.
Want to say something? Want to put it out there? If you like it, you can take it. If you don't, send it right back.
Get your text into 314-399-9646 and give us your take it or leave it.
Brought to you by Gloria Lou Realty. Visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com and start packing.
That's my final offer. Take it or leave it.
Lines open for take it or leave it on the opening drive. Kids, as you know, 6 quarterbacks taken in the first 12 picks last night in the NFL draft. Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, along with Michael Penix Jr. He went 8th. J.J. McCarthy went 10th. And Bo Nix went 12th. Take it or leave it. You will, after 3 years, think that at least 4 of those 6 suck.
At least 4.
I'm going to take it.
I'm going to take it. Just for the way that it always goes.
Yeah, the draft where Trevor Lawrence was the top pick was brutal. He's the only one of the 6 taken in that first round, or 5 taken in that first round, that are still with the same team.
Was that the Jets number 2 overall?
Yeah, that was Zach Wilson.
Zach Wilson, yeah.
Yeah, that's just the way that it always seems to go. But it's also hard to predict of who's going to have the best success. I wasn't expecting C.J. Stroud to go do what he did with the Texans last season.
No.
He's an outlier, for sure.
I think that exactly, an outlier in that situation. So take it or leave it, guys. After a 5-year hiatus, Major League Baseball is bringing back its Players Weekend. Yay! And why do we all love Players Weekend? For many different reasons, but I like seeing the nicknames. We are a nickname show here on the opening drive, Dan. We are slowly bringing you into this.
Not really, but go right ahead.
I'm still bringing you into this, Dan. We are a nickname show. There we go. What did we have last year? There was a lot of highlights.
J-Dub's in the minors.
The 4 Horsemen.
I had a good one from a few years ago.
What is that?
There was a reliever from Tampa Bay, and it said on his back of his jersey, his nickname was Two Towels. And so everybody's like, why would he be Two Towels? And they said because he was so big and he was rather large, may have been a little overweight, that it took 2 towels for him coming out of the shower to make sure that he was covered. So it was Tommy Two Towels.
So take it or leave it. They are bringing back the Players Weekend, but they're getting rid of the nicknames. Take it or leave it. That is the worst decision ever. I want the nicknames on the back of the jerseys. I just do. I know that we're having issues with Fanatics, but I think that's one of the cooler things. And they still say that somehow they're going to show the players' personalities and really touch on all that, and that it will be fun. They put that in the statement that there will be fun. But I think that it's just even more fun to have the nicknames because then it opens it up for cool stories like what Dan just shared.
I agree.
Yeah, no doubt. Do you have, by the way, you don't know the date of it, do you? The Players Weekend is
August. It's in August.
It's August. So here's the issue. I'm going to take it on its face, but if they were planning an August Players Weekend with the nicknames on the back, they wouldn't get the jerseys until November.
Probably right.
Do you think that is part of this?
Yes.
I do.
That's sad.
The Cardinals still don't have their Blue Road jerseys.
That is sad.
It's April 26th. The Cardinals have had their Blue Road jerseys for years, and they still don't have their Blue Road Saturday jerseys.
All right, take it or leave it. The Phillies have played 26 games and already have 15 quality starts. With the starters of the Phillies, they have turned into now the favorites of the National League.
Good one. I'm going to take it.
I think so. With Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, you got Ranger Suarez, Spencer Turnbull. Cardinals, by the way, quality starts have 8. They're 8th in the National League. But comes down to pitching. The Dodgers have, not off to the start that we thought. The Braves will be there at the end, but it comes down to pitching, and right now the Phillies have it.
I might have to leave it because it's just hard for me to completely count out the Dodgers in this situation.
And they'll get Kershaw back. They'll get Buehler back at some point. I would feel differently, by the way. I would leave it if Strider hadn't gotten hurt.
Oh,
probably right. And we're talking about what's going to take you over the hump against the Phillies? Pitching.
Yeah.
Got to have pitching.
And they got the big boy in the middle of their lineup. You know he's going to have a hot streak. Harper is. All right, Matthew, what do we got on the text line?
Take it or leave it. The Falcons are setting up Michael Penix Jr. to be the next Jordan Love.
Well,
Take
yeah,
it.
I'm going to take that. They pretty much said that they like that formula. So
Left-handed.
no, left-handed. Yeah.
Take it or leave it. Most professional sports commissioners hate fun. That's because that's not their job. Isn't to make the games more fun. People, they have a job.
Yeah,
to make more money,
to be at the behest of owners,
and to make more money.
The 4 generally are unfun, though.
Let's see. What about soccer?
The soccer Don. At least
Yeah.
he's got a good Twitter handle.
Yeah.
I guess it's classifying. I mean, if we're talking about specifically taking away nicknames for Players Weekend, that is taking away a lot of fun. So I'll have to say that's an issue.
Roger
By the way,
Goodell was getting booed all night long.
Here's the thing. Take it or leave it. Of the commissioners, just take away what has happened to us. Roger Goodell is the most fun of the four.
He might be.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's hard to imagine,
It
but
is.
you're right. You're right.
Just because of the way that he's innovative, you would say?
Like last night when he comes on with Eminem and says 2 words, rap battle.
Yeah.
You know, is Bettman going to do that? Is Silver going to do I don't think so. You know, at least.
Rob Manfred, no chance.
No chance. So
No.
At least he's willing to play a little bit.
Silver would try that and it would fall extremely flat.
Yeah.
It would
Rob
be bad.
Manfred, he lost me when he said, well, it's a hunk of metal. Talking
Yep.
about the World
Oh, you
Series
did-
trophy. I was
Yeah.
out.
That bothered a lot of people.
I don't even mind him practicing his golf swing. But yeah, the hunk of metal thing was bad.
Take it or leave. The Cardinals will be over 500 after this next 12-game stretch. By the way, that 12-game stretch is away at the Mets, away at the Tigers, hosting the White Sox, and then hosting the Mets. That would be the 12 games. So 6 against the Mets, 3 against the Tigers, 3 against the White Sox is your next 12 for the Cardinals.
Over 500. So
To
you
get
could
over-
be
yes.
you could be just barely.
I was going to say, to get over 500, they obviously would have to win 3 more games.
So they're going to
lose.
win.
So they got to go 9. They got to go 9 and 3.
They're going to win
No, sorry.
1,
Yes.
1, 2, and 1, 1, 3, and 2. So what's that equal?
1, 3, and 2.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
7.
So yeah, 7 and 5. Are we counting it in that stretch or over 500 for the season?
Over
They
500 for the
just said
this.
season.
Oh, no.
7 and 5.
Oh.
7 and 5 would get them to 18 and 19.
Yeah,
so they have to be at least. They have to at least go 8 and 4 to get to above 500 on the season.
We got to figure that 3 could be against the White Sox. So can
That's
you
3.
Yes.
Yeah.
squeeze
You
out
gave the 3
5
there.
against the other teams? Yeah, I think you
I think you can.
You only have them taking 3. You have them taking 3 out of 6 against the Mets.
One
Only
this weekend.
1 against the Tigers.
Yeah. 1 out of 3?
That's that. Yeah. That's okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that. I can see that. I can see that.
Yeah. I want to see if Jack Flaherty pitches against the Cardinals. That'll be fun, won't it?
The little Irishman.
All Irish. Let's see if we got the schedule here.
Take it or leave it. Stalter has to call off work today.
I'm going to leave that.
I have to know. I'm definitely tuning in today to hear what he has to say about all of this.
I will too. It'll be interesting radio to hear what he has to say. Every once in a while, he just loses it.
Yeah.
Do you think he's going to be
Well-
angry or happy, Dan? Honestly,
He's going to be angry.
Angry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He'll be
that's-
fired up.
He is he's a build from the inside out guy. He hates their last 3 drafts. First team in history to take it with 3 consecutive top 10 picks, wide receiver, tight end, running back.
He went nuts when they took a running back.
Yeah.
He went absolutely crazy. And then in the regular season, they didn't use him. Talking about Bijan Robinson.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So
The oddity of the whole thing.
thank you, Matthew.
The good thing is that they've got a really exciting head coach now.
Who in,
Oh.
Raheem Morris. Yeah. He's an exciting guy, yeah. I guess. Thanks for your texts. We do appreciate it. Coming up, Greg Amsinger believes there's a systemic problem in Cardinal player development. Is that the case? That's next on 101 ESPN.
perspective on the day's top stories. It's the Opening Drive's Fresh Take.
Because we care about you, we want to make you comfortable. We're going to do something that you've never done your entire life in baseball to make you comfortable. What? You've never done that before? Well, we care about you. You're going to hit ninth. This happened to Jordan Walker. We're going to bet you seventh. We're going to bet you eighth. At some point, you gotta sacrifice to get young players going. Get them going. See what they got. They didn't do it with Jordan Walker, and it bothered me batting the lower part of the order every single day. They're not doing it with the Baltimore Orioles, and I just think that developing young talent is still a skill, and some teams are good at it, other teams are not.
That's MLB Network's Greg Amsinger with us yesterday on the Opening Drive on 101 ESPN. It's 8:05 right now. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. And you look at Jordan Walker going back down. You look at the lack of success that has been enjoyed, and it hasn't been enjoyable for Zach Thompson and Matthew Liberatore. You look at what happened with Paul DeYoung after he got off to a really good start with a 30 home run season and regressed over the course of his time here. Dan, Brooke, it really is hard for me to understand why the Cardinals have such difficulty getting their players to be really good at the major league level. Maybe it is the quality of the players, but I look at a team like Atlanta, which should be, I think, the Cardinals' model. And you see Riley ascend, and you see Albies ascend. And it was pretty obvious that Acuna was going to ascend, but Acuna was kind of their version of Jordan Walker. And Michael Harris II. They keep bringing guys up, and they keep succeeding for a franchise like Atlanta or the Dodgers. I wonder what it is that prevents the Cardinals from getting their young players to turn into perennially good players.
And you have to give the Cardinals credit for developing these players. Now, when they get here, it seems like there's been a stunt for some of them. But I off the top of my head, I can think of guys that they brought to the big leagues under their umbrella, which is Donovan, Herrera, Wynn, Nolan Gorman, Jordan Walker, Dylan Carlson, Tommy Edman, Ryan Helsley, Zach. I mean, that's a lot. Zach Thompson. That's a lot of guys that they have drafted and developed or signed in the international market and brought them in. You know, to Greg's point about a young player moving up in the lineup, the one thing that could spurn for that player in a positive way is that he's going to get more pitches to hit, which is something I think that you have to look at. But the other thing is, on the flip side, you hit him down in the lineup, and if he's hitting well, like a Mason Wynn, do you really want to tinker with that? It's kind of the fine line with both ways to look at it.
And I just go back to, and again, maybe it's that different of a time, but I look at Vince Coleman coming up and being the leadoff hitter the very first game he ever played in the majors with the Cardinals.
If you're a major leaguer, you're a major leaguer, right?
Right, yeah. Terry Pendleton comes up. He's hitting the hell out of the ball in AAA. He comes up. He's hitting third for the Cardinals. The movie The Natural came out that year. Pendleton was hitting 324 or whatever, and we called him The Natural. And so I do think that there is something to be said for players being put into a familiar spot.
A familiar spot, I think, helps a lot, too. But I do think it's a very alarming trend that you're starting to see because they do a great job. Randy Flores and his crew, they do a great job of identifying the talent. And developing the talent is something that definitely happens at the minor league level. But what is the disconnect that you guys think that happens at the major league level? Now, I totally understand. These are young players that we're talking about here, so it takes a while for that to work out for them. But I even look at a player like Dylan Carlson. This is just my fear. Now, Dylan Carlson has experienced a lot of injuries over the years, of course, which has held him back. But remember, he was a very big prospect. He was a guy who debuted in 2020, switch hitter, tallied a 780 on base plus slugging percentage in 2021, and he even finished third in voting for NL Rookie of the Year. He went from cold dead hands to now he's not even in the conversation, which, of course, injuries play a huge part of that. Mm-hmm. But that is one of my fears, is that what I see is, okay, you have another outfielder coming through here that you hope doesn't turn into another situation like that. Now, there's still hope for Dylan Carlson. I'm not saying that he's done, but look at over the years how much that conversation has changed surrounding him.
Not one size fits all, too.
Right.
Yes.
That's a big problem. I think that's a big problem, and we'll see how they treat a player like Victor Scott, right? Because Victor Scott's never going to hit home runs. If they tell Victor Scott to start looking for more loft, then that's an issue. The same bet that Whitey Herzog had with Ozzie Smith should be taking place with Victor Scott. Every ground ball and line drive, You give him $1 every fly ball and strikeout. He gives you $1. That should be the bet with Victor Scott or anybody who can run.
If they tell Victor Scott to lift, I'm out.
Yeah,
I'm just out. And that goes back to my one size fits all. I would seriously doubt it that that's happening.
I would doubt that too.
I would think that they're telling him, go down. You haven't played at AAA. Learn, grow, bunt, use your speed, figure out to take your best asset and put it in play. And that's not hitting home runs. Although he can drive the ball a little bit. He did that at AA, did it at single A. But, let's be honest.
Use your speed.
Put the ball in play and use your legs.
Brooke, to your point, by the way, the Cardinals' top prospects at the beginning of 2021. Here's their top 10. Dylan Carlson. He hasn't performed. But we can use injuries as an excuse, but the fact of the matter is, since that third place Rookie of the Year finish in 2021, it just hasn't worked for him. Matthew Liberatore and this is MLB's pipeline. This is not the Cardinals rankings. This is MLB Pipeline's rankings. Liberatore was their number 2 prospect heading into that year. Gorman was third. I think we can all agree that from last year to this year, Nolan Gorman has regressed. Long way to go here, but at this time last year, Nolan Gorman was a much more effective player. Ivan Herrera was their number 4 prospect. Hopefully he rises to the top. Then you had Zach Thompson, Mason Wynn, Jordan Walker, Jahan Torres. He's still in the organization somewhere. And then Tink Hentz and Johan Oviedo. Johan Oviedo was later on a more highly regarded prospect. The point being here that the Cardinals, for all of these people that are top 100 prospects that should turn into very good or great players, the Cardinals have not developed a very good or great player in a long time. And that is a problem.
It is a problem, and especially we've talked a lot over the years about the pitching development. That has been an issue for the Cardinals. Look at the situation they're in because of the payroll. When we're talking about payroll, the amount of money they had to spend on the starting rotation was because they haven't been able to have one of those young pitchers within their system rise to that situation where they could be a starter. They tried it with Jack Flaherty and Dakota Hudson. That didn't pan out last season. Remember, that was going to be a part of the plan that one of those would rise to the occasion. I think they were even hoping that Jack Flaherty would eventually be an ace for the starting rotation. That didn't pan out. You go into this season with Matthew Liberatore and Zach Thompson, hopefully one of them turning into a starter that could be a mainstay for the starting rotation for the future, because you have to think past that. You can't just always, well, in this situation maybe you can, go out and continue to get free agent pitcher year after year after year, because that's a lot of money you're spending. We're seeing that trend on the pitching side. I hope that's not going to be the case on the other side as well.
And then you have Jordan Hicks do what he's done in the first month with the Giants. And Flaherty, 36 strikeouts and 4 walks. Granted, the ERA is high, but Flaherty is pitching better than he did in the last few years. Maybe it's a matter of health. I don't know. But the bottom line, he's performing better with the Tigers than he did with the Cardinals. Genesis Cabrera, they couldn't find a role for him here. Maybe he was a good guy. Maybe he wasn't. I don't know. But give me a good guy who can, or a bad guy who can pitch over a good guy who can't.
Yeah, I don't care if you get good guys. Give me results. I've always been that way.
So it's,
So you're thinking organizational approach, and I think that's what we're talking about. What's the overlying theme with both hitting and pitching? And I think that's fair when you have some of these prospects that are coming to the major leagues and maybe not progressing the way that you want to see. Here's the other thing. Maybe these guys aren't as good as we thought.
I was running through that list, Dan, and I'm thinking that exactly, especially the hitters.
Now, you made a really valid point, though. Cardinals valued them high, and so did national baseball pundits, but maybe they're wrong. Maybe this is who they are, and that could happen too.
Yes, it can. And there are a lot of highly regarded prospects that don't work out. But the thing is, none of them are working out for the Cardinals.
Mason Wynn.
So far. But
yes.
Last year at this time, we thought Nolan Gorman was on his way. And so hopefully Mason Wynn doesn't regress the way several of the Cardinals. And at this time I guess they sent Walker down basically a year to the day after he got sent down last year. But he started off with a 12-game hitting streak last year.
Yes, and I don't disagree with that, because all the time we see it where somebody is a highly touted prospect and it just doesn't work out. That happens in every single sport, so I'm not denying that. But at the same time, if you just look at the lineup overall, because this is a hitting issue in general for the Cardinals currently through their entire lineup, so there has to be some disconnect philosophy-wise when it comes to hitting with the organization right now.
And Rosarena and Garcia are not going to disappear. Those guys here you've got a guy who was a Rookie of the Year, who was a World postseason MVP in the LCS. You've got Garcia leading the American League. Not that Garcia wasn't available to everybody. We've made that argument in the past, but the bottom line is he was in the Cardinal organization, and the Cardinals let him walk away. So those guys are doing it with other organizations too.
Could be a way different conversation, and I know this is sunshine and lollipops. I get it, but in 2 to 3 months, Jordan Walker is back, has figured out some things. Nolan Gorman has cut down on strikeouts and hitting bombs. Mason Wynn continues to do what he's doing. Then all of a sudden you say, that's 3 really good players that you developed, which could happen.
Hopefully that'll be the case. That is today's Fresh Take on 101 ESPN. Coming up, things are looking up over at St. Louis University with both basketball programs. We're going to talk to their athletic director, Chris May, about that and more next on 101 ESPN.
It's time for a DraftKings at Casino Queen Redbird report on 101 ESPN.
Brooke Grimsley here for your Redbird report. The Cardinals starting a 6-game road trip tonight with the first of the 3 games against the Mets in New York. Miles Michaelis will get the start for the Cardinals. He's looking to get back on track. He currently sports a 6.75 ERA in his last 3 appearances. Jose Butto on the mound for the Mets with a 1.65 ERA in his last 3 starts. First pitch is at 6:10, with the game being televised exclusively on Apple TV.
The Redbird Report is presented by DraftKings at Casino Queen. Play, stay, dine at DraftKings at Casino Queen.
Grimsley, Danny Mack, Randy Carricker, the opening drive on 101 ESPN. And if you follow St. Louis U Athletics on any social media, they've got a A fun and exciting announcement pretty much every day with the men's basketball team and obviously the women's basketball team winning the women's NIT. We get a chance to visit with the athletic director at St. Louis University, Chris May. Good morning, Chris. How you doing?
Doing great, Randy. How are you guys doing?
Doing good. First of all, thanks for joining us. Second of all, it's got to be pretty cool for you to have something happening pretty much every day that's exciting for your department.
Well, it certainly is. In the land of portaling, nothing is quiet. But it's been really great. And I appreciate the time this morning. You mentioned the WNIT win. We had the Phoenix dinner champions last night with the WNIT team and Rebecca, and that brought energy. Obviously, Josh coming on board brought energy. Our women's tennis team got a big win last night. They got a chance to win our first A10 championship. And there's one, before we get to Josh, there's one huge milestone coming up that Danny Mack knows about. And our baseball coach, Darren Hendrickson, is 5 wins away from winning 1,000 games as a college coach.
And he just picked up, Chris, didn't he just pick up 500 at SLU as well?
He did. And so we're leading the league in baseball. We're 3rd in the league in softball. So there's just a lot of energy going on here. But I invite everybody to come out in the next couple weekends. They're on the road this weekend. The next couple weekends are baseball teams at home. And we have a really, really special baseball team. We had half a dozen scouts out watching a couple of our kids the night before last. So there's a lot of really positive energy. But as you know, Josh Schertz coming to our team and joining us, I couldn't be more proud of the whole program and how everybody's rallying together in each individual sport, in addition to supporting Josh and what he's got going on.
As you mentioned, Chris, just a lot of great energy surrounding the Billikens athletic program right now. And we'll start with Schertz, everything that he's doing right now. And he's utilizing the transfer portal, bringing in some of his former players from Indiana State. A lot of people talking about Isaiah Swope and, of course, Robbie Avila. What do you think about those new additions to the Billikens family?
Well, it's been great meeting all these young guys and their families. It's one of the real great parts of my job is I get to meet the recruits and families as they come in. And Robbie is, this community is just going to be, I believe this community will engage Robbie like there's no tomorrow. He's a wonderful young guy, works his tail off, has such a way about him that it just brings people closer to him. And so I couldn't be proud. I was impressed by you guys with SLU Alcindor. I thought you guys did good work on that. But Robbie, I watched a lot of Indiana State basketball all winter. And as I watched him continue to develop, he's a big that can really, really pass the ball and shoot it. And as you guys have talked with Josh, and we've spent a lot of time together in the last month, the way Josh runs offense, he has one position, the 5, and all the other parts that keep working. And so when you got a 5 like Robbie that can catch it and shoot it and pass, I think it's going to be really fun for all of our community to come watch Billiken basketball. Isaiah can shoot. I think he had 113 threes, if I'm not mistaken. So he can really shoot the ball. We just signed a kid by the name of A.J. Casey, who was a phenom out of high school up in Chicago, coming to us from Miami. Josiah Dotzler is coming to us from Creighton. He was a off the charts high school player that Josh had recruited at Indiana State. He stayed at Creighton, and now he's with us. There's a couple freshmen. There's one freshman, Amari McCautry, who is a high level guard out of Milwaukee. Who will remind people of Jordair Jet. He's taller than Jordair. He's a couple inches taller, but he'll remind people of Jordair. So it's been a great fast pace run here in the last couple of weeks. We've had a lot of people coming in and out, and then we just can't forget. I mean, Gibson Jimerson can flat out shoot it, and with the way Josh likes to play, we think Gibson and Larry Hughes and Kellen Thames are really going to be able to take advantage of the system as they get ready for their next step.
Chris, why was Josh Schertz the right guy for you?
Well, Danny, great question. And, we went into the market. We knew we needed to ignite our community. But when I really looked at it, the number one thing when we went into the market that was super important was lifetime winning percentage. I had an old football coach turned AD a long time ago tell me, Chris, lifetime batting percentage is for real. And I think lifetime winning percentage is real, and because winners win. And when you look at Josh's winning percentage of 787, he did such a great job at Lincoln Memorial. He went into Indiana State, and that place was not in a good space when he got there, and he flipped that thing and really got it going. So winning percentage super important, but then how he does it. How he does it through he's got one of those really brilliant offensive minds. When we were in the market and we were looking at people, and then you started calling people in basketball to ask about, hey, what about this Josh Schertz guy? Every person started talking about his mind and where he is in the offensive game and doing it differently and ahead of where much of college basketball is. Jay Billis talked about, Jay had played in Europe for a long time. He said, Chris, he's much more closer to where European basketball is played. And Jay's like, European basketball is way ahead of basketball in the U.S., and U.S. is getting closer to it. And so when we look from lifetime winning percentage to the way he likes to play, and most importantly, how he connects with his players. When you watch his connection, I don't know if you've seen any of the social media stuff with he and Robbie. It's just hilarious. Robbie giving Josh grief, and the relationship he has with these guys. Now, winning 32 games helps a relationship too, but that never hurts. But how he relates with the young people, the way he runs an offense, the way he builds community, it just became a really, really great fit for us and for St. Louis University and for our community.
Chris May, the athletic director at St. Louis University, with us on 101 ESPN. Along those lines, when you talk about the relationship that Josh is able to forge with players and what your institution is, what did you take out of the fact that Gibson Jimerson got a call from UConn and didn't talk to them to stay at St. Louis University?
Well, I think it's a testament to our program, to the position we're in, and to Josh Schertz. I think it's all the above. I think Gibson, when you get right down to it, the best opportunity for Gibson is right here. You know, Gibson could become the all-time leading scorer in SLU history, and there's been a lot of great players come through here. I think Gibson looked at it, and Gibson would like to continue to play. What puts him in the best position to do that? And Gibson is a really impressive student of the game. And Gibson studies it. He studies efficiencies. He studies where teams shoot. And when you look at Josh and you look at the shot charts of where his teams shoot from, they shoot a lot of layups and a lot of threes. And part of the interview process, I talked to Josh about how do you get a guy like Gibson Jimerson open. And all of a sudden, he's running screens with me, having me stand at one place. Okay, Chris, you stand here. We're going to run him this way. Robbie steps out. Robbie sets the screen. Either Gibson cuts or he's going to get this free because you can't guard two guys at once. So I think Gibson really sees it as a great opportunity. He's had some unbelievable workouts here in the last couple weeks. And so I think it made sense for Gibson to stay, and I think he's going to have a huge final season in Chaffetz Arena.
On the women's basketball side, Chris, Billikens beating Minnesota to claim the WNIT title. What a season it was for Rebecca Tillett and crew and everything that she's been building over there.
Well, she's such a consummate teacher. She's the ultimate teacher coach, and as we've met a bunch since the season ended, the teaching wasn't done. And I think that's part of the reason why she does so well in the postseason is she just keeps teaching and teaching and teaching. And when you saw what Peyton Kennedy did as the most outstanding player of the WNIT, what Kyla McMakin did for a career, bringing an unbelievable run at Longwood and extending it here, Rebecca has really done a fantastic job of elevating our women's basketball program, and the future couldn't be more bright. They're deep in recruiting, got a huge recruit last week, a big 6'5" player from a Power 5 school. So Rebecca's just doing a fantastic job, and we are really thrilled with the WNIT championship that she and her team were able to get.
Chris, from your perspective, specifically at SLU, so from your position as AD, how do you navigate NIL and the transfer portal? I know a lot of fans are curious about that.
Well, we are deep in we're deep in both, and we've had some significant wins and energy gain in the NIL space. We've got a very loyal support group that believe that the direction we're in is going in the right direction from a values-based perspective and a focus on winning. And so we've got a support group that's very excited about the position we're in, and the NIL space is an important part of it. The portal is just part of the game. A lot of people don't like it, but guess what? It's here, and so we are embracing it and trying to find ways to maximize the opportunity across the board, whether it's in men's basketball, women's basketball, or 2 soccer teams who are going to be top 25 come fall, or all our other sports. And so it's the way it's working in today's world. Now, one could argue, is it working at an optimal speed? But guess what? That's the way the rules are today. And so we have embraced the space. We've made huge progress in the space, and I am really encouraged and fired up about where we are right now.
And finally, Chris May, congratulations on St. Louis University selling out their annual charity golf tournament. That'll be a great day. But if people want to go to slewbillikens.com, as you know, my family, longtime season ticket holders for Billiken games, and if people go to slewbillikens.com, just click on that tickets tab, because both the men's and women's basketball teams are going to be very exciting next year. But all of the sports, as you mentioned, Darren Hendrickson on his way to his 1,000th win. The soccer programs are doing great. So a great time to get involved with Billiken Athletics.
Well, I appreciate it, Randy. Yeah, it is. And as a season ticket holder, your renewal is going to come a little earlier than usual this year, Randy, because we have moved the renewal process up, because we have people calling like crazy right now, putting deposits down for new season tickets. So we are moving that up, clearing the way for all of our current season ticket holders to get their tickets, get their renewals, get their seat upgrades, whatever they need, so then we can put new people in. So it's a great time to be part of Billiken Athletics. Golf tournament sold out. People can still go online and be part of the festivities on the auction. But I can't thank you guys enough. We have a lot of momentum because we've got a wonderful community, and you guys are part of it. And how you guys cover us, we couldn't thank you all enough. And we look forward to having you all here on campus following the Billikens sometime soon.
Thank you, Chris. We absolutely will be. You have a great weekend, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you. Have a great one. Take care, guys.
Thank you, sir. That is Chris May, the athletics director at St. Louis University, and a lot of momentum with new coach Josh Schertz. Coming up, we've got the fight, and we need a fighter. All you need to do is text in 314-399-9646. Matthew isn't used to this.
Our second one of the week.
Yeah. 314-399 Yo-ho! Just put your name and the word fight onto that text, and maybe Matthew will pick you to fight me next on 101 ESPN. Hey, one of the great St. Louis companies is Gutter Pros at gutterpros.com. I told you a couple of weeks ago, a friend of mine actually put a picture up on the Facebook about how the gutters had fallen off of their house, and literally fallen off their house after one of the storms, and asked, well, what's the best place to get gutters? And I chimed in right away. I said gutterpros.com, no doubt about it. At Gutter Pros, water goes where they tell it to go, and they do a great job of determining what the best gutters are for your home, and then doing a great job of installing them and making sure that you are really good to go with your gutters. They're A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau at gutterpros.com. They are getting 4.9 out of 5 stars on their reviews. And whether it's a residential or whether it's a business, you're going to get great work and great products from gutterpros.com. They'll do soffit and fascia. Everything they do looks great. And as important or more important, it's very, very functional. You will love working with Gutter Pros, a great St. Louis company. Just go to gutterpros.com, set your appointment today. They're St. Louis people. They'll love dealing with you, and you'll love dealing with them. The company that I deal with is gutterpros.com.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Cardinals back in action today, starting a 3-game series against the Mets. It's a 6:10 first pitch. Facing off against the Mets, it'll be on Apple TV. It'll be Miles Michaelis facing off against Jose Butto for the Mets. If you want to hear some more Cardinals and Mets talk, stay tuned for 9:30 on Apple TV's Heidi, Watney, who will be on the broadcast, joins us to talk that matchup over. Last night in the NBA playoffs, Cavs fall to the Magic 121-83. The Cavs still leading 2-1. The Knicks also still leading 22-1, despite their 125-114 loss to the 76ers in Game 3. And then the Nuggets continue to roll on in the Western Conference, a 112-105 win over the Lakers for a 3-0 series lead. That is your Sports Center update, brought to you by Soliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Welcome to the fight. In the red corner, Average Joe Listener. And in the blue corner, the undisputed king of morning drive. Please welcome Randy Carricker.
Welcome back to the opening drive. It is time for the fight. And our fighter today is Anthony, because we did have a Hall of Famer, Dan, but Dan is no longer with us. He's out there, other Dan, Danny Mac.
Yes.
But Dan is no longer with us doing the fight on this show. We'll miss him, but we welcome in Anthony.
So caller Dan is gone, but we have Anthony. Anthony, welcome to the show.
Thank you, guys. Very excited to be on.
Awesome. Have you done this before, whether it be in the afternoon or in the mornings or just any time?
I did do it when Randy was on the Fast Lane in the afternoon. It's pre-pandemic, so it's been a while.
How did you fare?
Not very well.
Okay, well, let's change that today. The weekend is here. We're thinking bright things and positive vibes going your way, and Brooke is ready to roll.
Appreciate it.
Question number 1, Anthony. The Bears are hoping that Caleb Williams changes the franchise's history at the quarterback position, where the Bears have the lowest career passing leader in NFL history with just over 23,000 yards. That's less than the Texans. Who is the Bears' current leader in passing yards? Is it Sid Luckman, Eric Kramer, or Jay Cutler?
I got to go Jay Cutler.
Final answer, Anthony?
Final answer.
Okay, question 2. Which college program is the only program to ever produce back-to-back first overall QBs in the NFL draft? Was it USC, Alabama, or Oklahoma?
I'm going to go Oklahoma. Final answer.
All right, Anthony, off to a good start. Let's go to question 3.
Dan, you might be revealing some secrets here.
No,
you never know.
Randy's in the hallway. What the hell?
Question 3, Anthony. Howie Long is the only Hall of Famer to have 2 sons drafted in the first round. Chris went number 2 to the Rams out of Virginia, while Kyle went number 20 to the Bears out of which school? Was it Washington, Oregon, or Minnesota?
I'm going to go Oregon. Final answer.
And question 4, the Boston Braves were a precursor to the Atlanta Braves. That was in Major League Baseball. But which current NFL team was known as the Boston Braves at the beginning of their franchise history? Was it the Philadelphia Eagles, the New England Patriots, or the Washington Commanders?
This is going to be a total guess. I'm going Washington Commanders. Final answer.
All right, Anthony, let me go grab Randall. How do you feel?
Not too bad. Pretty good.
There you go. And you never know. I feel like Dan was kind of maybe giving away how you might have done in this fight so far. So you should feel pretty good about yourself. Yeah. And also, Randy is waltzing in here right now, Propel in hand. I'm assuming that you already ate your grapes, Randy.
No, I just had bread sliced cinnamon crunch bagels.
And now we have pretzels in the room. So there's a lot of carbs this morning.
National Pretzel Day or month? I guess
they
gave me the little piece of paper here. Shall I read it? It's National Pretzel Day. Celebrate National Pretzel Day with the
you don't
Philly
have to read
Pretzel
the whole
Factory. Did we already talk about this?
No, we haven't yet. No. Okay. But if you want to do your whole spiel, we can.
Oh, want me to do it in broadcaster voice?
Sure. Go right ahead.
It's National Pretzel Day.
Celebrate National Pretzel Day with Philly Pretzel Factory. Our family-owned stores in South County, Baldwin, Ellisville, O'Fallon, Crystal City, and Waterloo are serving up a delicious array of pretzel products, from classic twists to brats, hot dogs, salsichas, pepperoni melts, and sweet cinnamon bites. Don't forget to dip into our selection of mustard, cheese, and sweet dips. Cheese, also known as queso. For the ultimate pretzel experience, come join the party at Philly Pretzel Factory.
That's delicious. Say hi to Anthony.
Anthony, good morning. How you doing?
Good, Randy. How are you doing?
Doing well. Happy National Pretzel Day to you.
Yeah, good. Thank you. I love pretzels.
And to all who celebrate. Ready for question number 1, Randy?
Let's do it.
The Bears are hoping that Caleb Williams changes the franchise's history at the quarterback position, where the Bears have the lowest career passing leader in NFL history with just over 23,000 yards. That's less than the Texans. Who is the Bears' current career leader in passing yards?
We've had something close to this before. I think it's Jay Cutler. Might have gotten that wrong. They had, they've had Bob Avellini. They've had Bobby Douglas. They've had Sid Luckman. Yeah, how about that? Pulled that one out of, they had Rex Grossman. They had Jim McMahon. He didn't get to 23,000 yards. I'm just trying to think of
Jim Harbaugh.
Eric Kramer, Jim Harbaugh. Yeah, they've had a few guys. Chad Hutchinson, former baseball Cardinal draft choice from Stanford, started games for the Bears.
That's amazing.
It is.
We don't talk enough about that, to make it to Major League Baseball and NFL in that position.
Right, yeah.
That position specifically.
Pitcher. Yeah. And in neither sport did he have very good control.
No, he didn't. He was all over the place.
Yeah. So I'm going to go with, I'll go with who'd I go with?
Jay Cutler.
Jay Cutler, there, yeah.
Are you ready for question 2?
I am, sir, yes.
Which college program is the only program to ever produce back-to-back first overall QBs in the NFL draft?
Seems like it would be Oklahoma, right, with Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield. Seems like it would be. Can't think of anybody else who's done it, so I'm going to go with them. Oklahoma Sooners.
OJ wasn't a QB at USC. Let's get that out of the way if you want to make a joke.
Well, he didn't have to be. He didn't have to be a QB. He was a slashing runner, and just had incredible ability there. And they had a sharp head coach in John McKay.
Okay. It might be too soon, Randy?
Question 3, please.
Question 3. Howie Long is the only Hall of Famer to have 2 sons drafted in the first round. Chris went number 2 to the Rams out of Virginia, while Kyle went number 20 to the Bears out of which school?
Kyle Long. So he transferred. I believe he was out of Oregon. Kyle was a big left-handed pitcher at Florida State, got in some trouble. He had major league ability. Big boy, yeah.
Yep.
And so when Chris came here, Kyle was headed to Florida State as a pitcher, got in some trouble, and then wound up going to Oregon. And I believe he was an Oregon offensive lineman.
Is that your final answer?
I'm going to go with the Oregon Ducks, yes.
Okay. You ready for question 4?
Ready.
The Boston Braves were a precursor to the current Atlanta Braves in Major League Baseball.
Yes.
But which current NFL team was known as the Boston Braves at the beginning of their franchise history?
I think it might have been was it the Boston Redskins? The Washington Commanders? Boston Redskins, Washington Redskins, Washington football team, Washington Commanders. I'm going to go with the Boston Braves, I'm just totally guessing here. But I will go with, should I use, I'll do the lifeline since I have it. I'll do the lifeline.
Oh, that's me, isn't it?
Yeah.
That is you.
Here's some choices.
Okay.
Philadelphia Eagles.
But for one time, though, the Philadelphia Eagles were known as the Pittsburgh Steagles because during the war, the Eagles and the Steelers merged. Go ahead.
New England Patriots.
They have been the Boston Patriots or the New England Patriots throughout their history.
The Washington Commanders.
I'm going to go with the Boston Redskins. Mm-hmm. I'll do that.
All right.
All right, Anthony and Randy, first of all, you both get this.
What a week. What a week it's been.
Because we have another tiebreaker. 4 out of 5 days, another tiebreaker today. And we'll see if Randy Carricker can get his second win of the week, or if Anthony starts his own little Hall of Fame run. Anthony, here are the rules. I'm going to read out the question. We're going to give Randy a moment to write down his answer. Once he has written down his answer and showed us, we'll ask you for your answer. You can then give it to us audibly, and then whoever is closest to the pin is walking away the winner of today's fight. Anthony, do you understand those rules?
I do.
All right, Randy, do you have your paper?
I do. It's Lindenwood paper. I just showed it to the camera.
All right.
Lindenwood University.
It was very sad for all of us, but the Blues have already finished up what was their 56th season in existence this past season. Out of those 56 years, how many times have the Blues made the playoffs? They just finished up year number 56. Out of those 56 years, how many times have the St. Louis Blues made the playoffs? Just a moment, Anthony. Randy Carricker is doing math.
56th season. Does this include the lockout season?
It does include the lockout season, yes.
Okay. So
No. Sorry. The way that Hockey Reference does it, that one is X'd out.
Okay. All right.
Got it, Randall.
All right, Randy Carricker has given us his guess. Anthony, what is your guess, sir?
I'm going to go 47.
You got to be absolutely freaking kidding me.
This has been a week for Rocc, but it's a good thing, I think. Multiple tiebreakers possibly here.
The answer is 47.
It is.
Both guessed 47. Randall at 47.
Rocc is not okay, so that's why I went ahead and unveiled
47.
this.
Oh, you didn't have to guess. You knew 47.
Yes.
My fault, Randy. I should have known that. That's on me.
No, you were off by 2. You guys were both very, very close.
Oh, he said 47.
It's 40. It's 45 of the 56 years that they have gone to the playoffs. They've only missed it 11 times. So let's go to another backup tiebreaker question because that's what we need again in one of these unfreaking believable. All right, let's go with this one. The St. Louis / Los Angeles / Cleveland / God only knows how many other places Rams are tied with the league lead for the most ever first overall picks in NFL history. This is not Super Bowl era. This is the entirety of the NFL. How many times have the different Rams franchises selected first overall?
And they're tied for the lead, huh?
They're tied for the league lead.
Good.
How many times have the Rams selected first overall? Just one moment here, Anthony. All right. Randall has a guess. What is your guess, sir?
I am going to go with 11.
All right. Anthony has guessed 11. Randy, please say your guess or show your guess, whatever you want to do.
I guessed 8.
All right, Randy guesses 8. All right, so with a leading mark in NFL history, how many times have the different Rams franchises selected first overall? Anthony guessed 11. Randy guessed 8. We have a winner. Ring that bell.
The winner and still champion of the fight, Randy Carricker.
The fight is presented by Golf Discount of St. Louis. With the most experienced club fitters in town. Why shop anywhere else?
Just win.
In double overtime.
In double overtime. The second time this week we've gone to double overtime. I'm sorry, Anthony. The different Rams franchises have selected the first overall 7 different times. Once as the Cleveland Rams, twice as the St. Louis Rams, and then 4 times as the Los Angeles Rams. So Randy Carricker just one off of that guess. There is the winner in today's tiebreaker. But man, you gave great guns through this one. A perfect fight with 4 correct, and then a exactly same guess as Randy in the first tiebreaker, and you're only 2 off on that one. An impressive day on the fight today, despite the fact that you're not walking out with a win.
You appreciate it. Had a great time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anthony.
Happy National Press Day.
Absolutely. Aside from Orlando Pace, what was the other St. Louis Rams number 1 overall?
Sam Bradford.
Oh, yeah, right.
The Bears are hoping Caleb Williams changes the franchise's history at quarterback. It's for a second, I was like, who's the other one from Bradford? I like our brains are working in very different eras. They're hoping Caleb Williams changes the franchise's history at quarterback. They have the lowest career passing leader total in NFL history with just over 23,000 yards. Again, Matt Schaub has more than Jay Cutler, who is the Bears' current passing leader. And we all hope Caleb Williams can take over Jay Cutler there. Which college program is the only one to ever produce back-to-back first overall quarterbacks in the draft? It was, in fact, Oklahoma who did it with Baker and Kyler. And Danny, did you mean to hit on the other part of this trivia question, which is the only other school to ever have back-to-back first overall picks was O.J. Simpson in 1968,
Correct.
and the year before that it was, from USC, his offensive lineman, Ron Yari.
Ron Yari, yep.
Yari. Excuse me.
Minnesota Vikings. Yep.
So USC and Oklahoma, the only programs to ever put together.
One too. How about that?
You had first overall back-to-backs just in your head with O.J. Simpson. And that's incredible. We really should do you guys in a fight together.
I'm good
one of these days. Howie Long is the only Hall of Famer to have 2 sons. Look at what you're doing, though. Chris went number 2 to the Rams out of Virginia. Kyle did, in fact, go number 20 to the Bears out of Oregon. And I had no idea that he was a pitcher at Florida State. I just knew he transferred from there for some trouble. And the Boston Braves were a precursor to the current Atlanta Braves in Major League Baseball, but it was the founding name of the team that we now call the Washington Commanders. In 1932, when the Boston Braves baseball team was still called the Boston Braves, they started the Boston Redskins, and then 1 year later they would switch their name up to the from the Boston Braves to the Boston Redskins, I should say. And then they rolled on, and like I said, the Blues have finished up their 56th season, and they have gone to the playoffs 45 times out of those 11 misses, by the way, 8 of them since 2006, 3 of them prior to 2006 in the franchise's history.
Wow. There we go. That is the fight. Coming up next, we've got a quick rush hour reset, trying to get people back into Busch Stadium, and we've got a lot of ideas from you as to what it'll take to get you back. That's next on 101 ESPN.
The Cardinals are back in action tonight, and that means I'm putting in an entry on Underdog Fantasy with their Pick'em product that's active right now in Missouri. Pick 2 to 5 players from at least 2 different teams. Select higher or lower on the player stat projections. Pick your entry fee, and then you're going to be entered in a game alongside other underdogs. Hit your entries, and you're walking away with your winnings. Again, Cardinals back in action in New York. Let's put together an entry for today. Miles Michaelis, we're going to go lower than 17.5 pitching out, so that means he's getting taken out about after 5 2/3. I like that call. And who's going to get those hits against Michaelis to send him out? Well, there's some good hitters there on the Mets lineup. We're going to go Pete Alonso higher than 1.5 total bases, and Francisco Lindor higher than 1.5 total bases as well there. You can always add in to your entry because you can go all the way up to 5. One great way to add it in is getting your mystery special pick. How do you do that? Well, you go to Underdog Fantasy where it's super easy to play and even easier to get started. You go to the easy-to-use mobile app, or you can go to UnderdogFantasy.com on your desktop. Sign up with promo code ROCC. Underdog's going to match your first deposit up to $100. Then they're going to give you that mystery special pick to use on your first pick-up entry. You're going to take your odds up from about 6x right now with that entry all the way up to about 10 or 11x. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code ROCC to get your first deposit of $10 or more up to $100 match, plus that special pick. Must be 18 plus and present in the state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Consult with your play call. Wait, gambler. Visit www.ncpgambling.org.
stories of the day on the opening drive with the Rush Hour Reset.
Driven by R&R Tires. Visit rnrtires.com to lock in your $20 tires deal.
We're going to talk to the H-Man Howard Balzer in just a few minutes about the NFL draft. Brooke, Dan, and Randy, what would get you back to the ballpark? Because a story in the Business Journal says that Cardinal ticket sales are declining. Here's one that says they need to have affordable concessions. $15 for a drink when the team isn't that competitive is ridiculous. I'd need to drink 5 or 6 during a game to not care as much, at which point I've spent more on drinks at the game than the ticket.
I'll go winning. I keep saying winning.
Winning solves everything.
It really does. If you win and coming off last year and people being upset about that, you're under 500 to start this season. Hasn't been overly entertaining, the type of baseball that they're playing. If it was and you won last year, then I think more people at the ballpark. I also think there's some other things that are going on here. Kids still in school. Vacations not in full force yet. The weather hasn't been great, but winning does solve everything.
Winning does solve everything. And I think that's a huge part of it, Dan, and I agree with you there, because people want to be entertained. When it comes to disposable income, what you're going to spend that on, you're going to have some saved for entertainment, and I want to be entertained. And if you know that they're not producing at a level that excites you, why would you want to go spend your money on that? We've seen that. It's been a struggle to start the season offensively for them. That's not something exciting to go watch and see.
Here's one from this.
Don't you think people are a little concerned about going downtown, too?
No doubt. There was one text that talked about the number of cars that were broken into on opening day. From the 618, here's what it's going to take. Parking cheaper than $30 or $40. Tickets that are not in the nosebleeds for my family of 5 to cost less than $100. Stop insulting my intelligence. I'm not an idiot. When you say there's 33,000 people in the stadium, and I can clearly see that there's 20,000. When I sit in the Powerade Bridge, give me grilled hot dogs and brats. Who microwaves that crap? And most importantly, a front office that owns a significant portion of downtown, that has tons of money to spend, willing to pull the trigger and bring in multiple high-profile players. For example, Tyler Glasnow, Dylan Cease, Yamamoto.
Nolan Arenado was pretty big when he came over to the St. Louis Cardinals. I just want to counter that argument. Paul Goldschmidt as well. Now, I know that they're getting a little bit older, but those are very, very talented players that the Cardinals did bring over in the organization.
And if I'm not mistaken, Glasnow, I know, said the only team that he would sign an extension with was the Dodgers. And Yamamoto wouldn't even talk to teams that weren't on a coast.
So that would have been for 2 pitchers, $450 million.
Right.
And nobody else is doing that. The Dodgers are in a league of their own when it comes to spending.
And yes, should the Cardinals have made a significant offer for Dylan Cease? I don't know if they did. I don't know what it was if they did. But yes, Dylan Cease would have changed the dynamics, at least on opening day of this team. But as it turns out, they aren't hitting.
I think it's ridiculous when some people say, I'm not going down there because the DeWitts own this team. The DeWitts are in the top 10 of payroll.
They're 9th this year.
They're in the top 10, man. I mean, they're spending the money. Now, you can argue how they've spent the money. And you can say, well, I wouldn't have done that with this player or that player. That's fine. That's all part of the deal. But to say that they don't spend the money or care about what's happening, they've invested in downtown, that's ridiculous.
And Dan Burney had this note the other day, right, at Scoops with, he said, since 2017, the Cardinals have spent $1.25 billion on salary. The Brewers have spent $750 million, so $500 million more that the Cardinals have spent than the Brewers. Brewers winning percentage is .557. Cardinals winning percentage is .517.
So it comes down to some of the things that we were talking about before. Evaluating your own talent under your own umbrella. That has been an issue for the Cardinals, and there's multiple examples of that. But the other thing is spending your money in free agent wisely. And there's sometimes you can say, that didn't work out all that well. That's part of it, too.
Developing. That's the big part of it. Developing and winning will cure all with everything. I agree with you, Dan, and I'm glad you said that about the DeWitts. I don't think people sometimes understand. I know that this isn't the majority of people when you see some of the negative comments coming in. I know that the majority of the people don't think this, but when I see that those comments come in talking about the DeWitts, and this is not us carrying water or anything like that, even from an outsider perspective, they do a lot for the Cardinals organization. They do a lot locally. Ballpark Village has been huge for downtown. If you go downtown, there's not much else out there other than City Park. Of course, you have where the Blues plays at Enterprise Center, and then you have Ballpark Village, which is great. That's a great look to have there. It gives people a place to go to prior to the game, even after the game. And that's fantastic. They've done a lot in the city of St. Louis.
I think it's fair to question how safe you feel when you go downtown. And I think that's part of it, too. If you got a family, do you want to go downtown? Do you feel safe when you do? You know, the major sports franchises have invested in trying to make more security around downtown during events. Though they're trying, but I do think that that's a factor in what's going on here a little bit, too.
And the new prosecutor in the city hopefully is making some inroads into people that are career criminals, but were not being imprisoned, are now hopefully being arrested and put in jail.
Well, the other thing is, you know, when people say it's not affordable to go to the ballpark, I scoff at that.
Well,
it is affordable to go.
For some people, it's not, and I get it for them. But there are people,
generally speaking,
right,
like $6 tickets are there to be had.
Exactly,
yes.
Right. And if you can't afford a $6 ticket, then yes, you probably shouldn't be spending your money on entertainment. You just don't. If you can't afford 24, if you can't afford $40, $45 to take your family to a baseball game, you need to have a very tight budget. And I get it. There are people out there in that exact situation. But if you're going to, I'm going to tick off even my own kids. If you can go over to First Watch and afford avocado toast, then you can afford to go to a baseball game.
Don't do the avocado toast, Randy.
I just did it to the generation of Matthew and Brooke.
Yeah,
and my own kids.
Yeah, us millennials have heard enough about that. About if you don't spend all your money on avocado toast at Starbucks, then you can be able to afford all this different kind of things. But
there's some truth to it.
The thing is that I think there's many affordable options to go to a game to see the Cardinals.
Absolutely. Coming up next, we're going to talk some draft with the H-Man, Howard Balzer, here on 101 ESPN. Brooke Grimsley, Dan McLaughlin, Randy Carricker, great to have you with us on the opening drive on 101 ESPN. And our longtime friend, a former member of the St. Louis media, now covers the Arizona Cardinals, Howard Balzer, joins us talking some NFL draft. He, of course, was one of the first people on ESPN's televising the draft. An interesting story about that at Jason Barrett's website and on Jason Barrett's social. H-Man, good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Great to be talking with you all.
Okay, H, I want to start with this because people that might not be aware of your passion for football and the draft, I told the story the other day about how when we were at the Big 550, you wanted to do 24 consecutive hours of draft coverage.
I did suggest that once and said, man, that would be something to pull off. But I'll tell you, there were some drafts there at different stations that I did that it wasn't 24, but I'll tell you, it was an awful lot of hours in terms of doing the draft. But I always would say to people, it goes a lot faster when you're on the air than people realize because there's picks coming, they're going here, they're going there. And it was always a lot of fun. So, it's interesting you remember that.
H, it's great having you on. I think the biggest surprise from yesterday's draft would have to be Michael Penix Jr. going to the Falcons. What did you make of that pick?
Now, it was a shocker. I mean, it shocked everyone. And, and it just shows once again that with all the run-up to the draft and all the things that get said and, trying to get clicks and, debates and all that, is that you just never know what teams are really thinking. And that's a classic example of it. And I think one of the other parts, especially with the quarterbacks, with 6 going in the first 12 choices, with all the talk about how, the Vikings are trying to trade to get into the top 5 to get J.J. McCarthy, and they're desperate to do that. Well, they pretty much sat where they are, and they did make a trade to get him, but only moved up one spot. So, again, it just shows that the teams keep their plans pretty close to the vest, and that anything said before the draft is pretty much guessing.
Is it amazing for you, H, to see how the production has changed over the years from when you first started to what we're watching last night on national television?
Oh, my goodness. It's off the chain. I came across a picture, and it was on that story that Randy referenced. There was a picture of me and Vince Papale and Upton Bell and Bob Lee, who was the host. That first draft, I was on the, quote, set in Bristol, which was 4 guys sitting around a coffee table. That's what it was. It was just incredible. And so to see where it is today with 3 networks and the production, obviously, you can see the change in many things in sports over these last 4 decades. But this has been pretty phenomenal where the draft has come. And just the fact that ESPN decided to do it back in 1980 and then continued doing it after the first year, and now it's grown into what it was. But I did make a comment, last night to a bunch of people in the media facility with the Cardinals that massive fan, congregation in Detroit for the draft last night. They say 275,000. I said, I don't even know if there were that many people watching it on TV back in 1980. But yeah, it's just been incredible where that is today and the interest that there is in it.
Caleb Williams, I was just wanted to ask you very quickly about this. Just being the right fit for Chicago, being the number 1 pick. What did you think of him going number 1 overall?
Well, they hope that he's the right fit, and he is saying all the right things. Obviously, so much of what creates quarterback success and where they go, especially guys taken in the early part of the round, is how good is the team and getting the right team about him. And it might have been just as important that the Bears got Rome Odunze, the wide receiver from Washington, with the 9th pick. So he has all the physical ability. There have been some red flags about some of the things about him, but he certainly does appear enthused to be the quarterback the Bears expect him to be. Consider this is the 3rd quarterback that the Bears have drafted in the first round since the 2017 draft. So you can't say they better get it right this time, because if they don't, they'll be trying again. But certainly the pressure is on everybody in that situation.
H, as you know better than anybody, the draft is an inexact science. We had a Bills fan who works at Casey next door open the door and say, what the hell is my team doing, trading with Kansas City to give up the rights to Xavier Worthy? What was Buffalo thinking?
Yeah, it looks like they're just trying to stockpile picks. is what they're doing. And of course, they started late in the round. Obviously, they got a bunch of picks, coming up today, and then then a lot in the fourth round. I think they have 4 fourth-round picks on day 3 tomorrow. But they feel their team is pretty good, even though there were 7 wide receivers taken in the first round, which tied an NFL record that happened back in 2004, when oddly enough the Cardinals kicked off that wide receiver draft with Larry Fitzgerald, and then did it last night with Marvin Harrison Jr. But they feel that things that they need, they're going to be able to get with a lot of those later picks. So that's their plan, and I'm sure they're probably figuring too, hey, with our salary cap and with we're not going to have a first round pick that we have to pay, even though it's late in the first round. So I'm sure all those things entered into the decisions they were making.
How do you feel about the trajectory of the Arizona Cardinals now?
Yeah, I think they're on a very good trajectory. They really are. They have another pick today with the 3rd pick in the 2nd round. Who knows? Someone might come up and trade to get that. They have 3 picks in the 3rd round today also. So they've established a pretty solid culture there and a change. And so by adding Harrison, adding Denarius Robinson from Mizzou looks like a pretty good addition for them to upgrade a defensive line that they had already upgraded in free agency. Like I said, they've established a good culture and really feel that the jump from 4 wins that they had last season to at least being around 500 is not out of the question. And we all know that, if you're 500 in December with a month to go, then you're in the hunt for a wild card spot at least. So I don't think it's a stretch to say that would be a possibility for them.
I want to touch on a couple more teams. Number 1, Joe Ortiz, the new manager of the Los Angeles Chargers, said, hey, our superstars are going to be on the offensive line, and they take Joe Alt. And we watched what Jim Harbaugh did when he was the 49ers coach. It looks like they're going to do the exact same thing with the Chargers that he did when he was the coach in San Francisco. Are you getting that impression?
Yeah, no doubt about it. And you know that I'm always been a supporter, if supporter is the right word, of the offensive line and how important that is. You can have all the skill position players in the world, but if you don't have that line, then you're going to be struggling. And all we have to do is go back to the year. I remember when all the Rams players came up for the Hall of Fame in the same year. Orlando Pace, Isaac Bruce, Torrey Holt, and of course Kurt Warner. And I would ask people, how would you rank them? And most everyone said Orlando Pace first, because his presence on the left side of that Rams line was a big reason the greatest show on turf was able to do what it did with all those great skill players around them.
A lot of Mizzou fans excited to see Darius Robinson go to the Cardinals. What do you think about that move?
Yeah, I'll tell you, I think it's a real solid one. He's a very versatile defensive lineman, lost about 20 pounds last season, so they could use him on the edge after playing inside the year before. The Cardinals do a lot of different things with their defensive line. He'll probably put on a little bit of weight, but the guy, boy, I don't know if you all saw some of the interviews with him. He's got massive arms, long arms, and plays with a lot of passion. And that's what the Cardinals really look for. Obviously, you want good players with good ability, but they also want those guys that have great passion for the game, and Denarius certainly looks like he has that.
Okay, H, it's only one round. It's in the books. Is there one team that you looked at or 2 teams and you said, yeah, that's the right player for this fit for the organization at this time?
I think there were a lot of teams about that. We talked about the Bears, and obviously the quarterback has to work out, but getting the wide receiver was a tremendous move. And by the way, one quick note on that offensive line, there were 8 offensive linemen taken in the first round, so that's a real good fit for them. I think the Giants adding a playmaking receiver was a very good fit. They didn't go for the quarterback, which some thought they would. They got Malik Neighbors, and so you look at a few teams, and like you said, it's only one round, but I think a lot of the picks in that first round certainly, obviously, those teams believe that they're the right fit. But I think those that I mentioned certainly stand out.
H, a couple more quick things. Number 1, you used to walk into a lot of NFL stadiums and there would be signs that says offense sells tickets, signs, T-shirts, offense sells tickets, but defense wins championships. The first 14 picks last night are offensive players. I wonder if they still sell any of those signs or T-shirts.
Yeah, that was a pretty amazing development. The first time that's ever happened, and certainly quarterbacks drove a lot of that with 6 in the first 12, as we mentioned. But obviously it's still important to have that defense to try to slow down these offenses around the league. But you can have all this great defense, but if you can't score points, and I've always said this, if you can't score points, then it's going to be very, very difficult to win in the NFL. And so I don't know that this will happen again, just the way things fell with the receivers, with offensive linemen and the quarterbacks. But it's certainly put that cliche out the pasture, at least for 1 year in the first round.
And then one other thing, and you and I covered the entire time that Dick Vermeil was the head coach of the Rams here, and he always talked to us about a program, right? Not a team, but our program. Kansas City has a program in place. Philly has a program in place. You think that's part of the thought process in Atlanta is when Kirk Cousins isn't going to be their guy anymore. He's 35 and he's coming off an Achilles. They're going to have a guy in place. And if they can do that throughout positions, that's the way to have a team set up, right?
It's definitely the best way to do it. It's very hard sometimes when you have that quarterback that's getting a little older to pick that guy, because here's the thing, and the Falcons said it last night, Kirk Cousins is our quarterback now, Michael Penix is our future. Of course, the way things done in the NFL is you have to make a decision after the third year on a fifth-year option of those contracts. And if the guy hasn't played a whole lot, well, then you might have an issue. But we saw what the Packers did. You talk about having a program, and Jordan Love wasn't on a fifth-year option, and he played pretty darn good football last year following Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, who were the quarterbacks for 3 decades. So, yeah, if you can be able to do that, especially at quarterback, then you're going to be in very good shape for the present and for the future.
Howard Balzer, it is great to hear your voice. Thanks for coming on to talk some NFL with us. We appreciate it, and we'll talk again soon. We got to do this more often.
I hope to do that. It's great being with you all. Take care.
Thanks, H. Take care.
It was fun.
He's great. The H-Man, Howard Balzer, with us. So
I'm glad that he didn't miss his alarm today, because it's always great talking to H.
Great info, man. Yeah. He's all over it.
He's incredibly passionate and still is the guy that is the presenter for the St. Louis Rams when the Hall of Fame meeting occurs. So hopefully next year he's able to get Torrey Holt, our last candidate, in there.
Got to get in, man.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time when he gets in. But H, when you hear his proposal and how he puts it out there, how do you vote against a guy?
It's amazing.
It is.
It is amazing. Coming up, a couple of more of your texts about what the Cardinals need to do to get you back in the ballpark. And then at the bottom of the hour, Heidi Watney of Apple TV will join us here on the opening drive. You think to get more people into the ballpark, the Cardinals should publicize more that they allow soft side coolers with sandwiches and water and soda in the ballpark? You get a cooler that you can fit under your seat, and you can take your family, and you're going to, I hope, eat dinner anyway. So either make sandwiches at home and put them in a cooler, or pick them up from Penn Station, Subway, Jersey Mike's, Firehouse Subs, Amaghetti's.
Yummy. LeGrand's. I love LeGrand's.
What's the one over here? There's also on the hill that I love. Joya's. Yeah, Joya's. Yeah, there you go.
Yes. Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
Just put them in a cooler. Just put them in a cooler and eat and drink and put some chips in there.
How about Win?
That'd be Win. But people are coming up with excuses to not go to the ballpark, and they're saying it's the expense of going to the game. And I'm saying that if you can reasonably afford to go to a movie, you can mitigate a lot of expenses at concession stands and things like that and still get to a ballpark for about the same price that you could take your family to a movie for.
See, I think I'm an oddity because I like going to the ballpark just to watch baseball.
I do, too.
I will watch a bad team play because I want to see the opposing team or opposing players that I like, and just just a good game. I just love the game of baseball, so I will go regardless.
I think that's the big thing, too. Just win, entertainment, the entertainment value, and players. I think that you go to see certain players, and I'm just curious for the people who are texting in, for the ones who do go to the game, or you say, I'm going to go buy a ticket because of this. Who is the player specifically that you were going out there to see?
And we did have 10 years of Albert Pujols, where everybody wanted to go see Albert play, right?
Yeah.
And Arenado's going to be in the Hall of Fame, but I think it's just different, and it's not fair probably to think this, but Albert was our guy. Yachty was our guy. They came up through our system, and the only thing they ever wore was the Cardinal and the birds and the bat on their chest. Paul Goldschmidt, if he goes in the Hall of Fame, is probably going in as a Diamondback.
I disagree.
You think he'll go in as a Cardinal?
I do.
But he still feels, he spent 8 years of his career there, 6 years here. He doesn't feel as much ours as Albert Pujols and Yachty did.
Yeah, if he stayed 2 more years, then it's a slam dunk. He's a Cardinal.
Yeah.
I could see both ways of this, but he won his MVP in St. Louis, got to postseason play with the Cardinals. I think that'll be a factor, too.
And bottom line here is those guys, it's like when Tony won the World Series and Bob Gibson said, welcome to the club. You've got to win here to be a member of the club.
I think the other thing, too, you have to look at when guys go in the Hall of Fame is how can they maximize their value after they're named to the Hall of Fame. I mean, there's cachet saying I'm a St. Louis Cardinal. No disrespect to the Arizona Diamondbacks, but expansion franchise in '98. There's this cachet saying I was a St. Louis Cardinal.
And this is something that I pay attention to that a lot of people don't. But the Cardinals are very proud of this. I know that Mr. DeWitt is very proud of this. That if you go back to 1909, it's
Hall of Famer on every team.
There was a Hall of Famer in uniform on every single team, and you've got him now.
Yep. Right. Goldie is, I think I said this when we all started doing the show, but in terms of WAR, wins above replacement, and first baseman, he's like too shy. Mm-hmm. You know, he's going to get there. Yeah. So those guys that hit that benchmark of WAR are in the Hall of Fame for first baseman. He will be another one. So
if you like to watch Hall of Famers play, that's another good reason to buy the $6 ticket if you're a Cardinal. By the way, for those that like their cold Frosties, the Cardinals have another deal coming up with Budweiser. Let me get you that latest one because it is quite a deal. I'll have it by the end of the show. We're going to talk to Heidi Watney of Apple next, and then during Rocc Roll, I'm going to tell you about the Cardinals' deal with Budweiser so that you can get to buy a ticket with Budweiser included. But Heidi Watney's next on 101 ESPN.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Cardinals are back in action, starting a 3-game series against the Mets in New York today. It'll be Miles Michaelis facing off against Jose Butto for the Mets. Butto on the season 0-0 with a 1.65 ERA and a 1.04 whip. Michaelis struggling so far to start for the Cardinals. In the NHL playoffs last night, 2 3-0 leads have been established. The Panthers 5-3 over the Lightning, and the Hurricanes 3-2 over the Islanders. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
With Rick Grimsley and Dan McLaughlin, I'm Randy Carricker. It's the opening drive on 101 ESPN in St. Louis. The Cardinals taking on the Mets tonight at Citi Field, and the game will be an Apple TV telecast. And part of the telecast will be Heidi Watney, who joins us now on the Celebrity Line on 101 ESPN. Heidi, good morning. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing great. It's always great to have you with us on the show, and it has been a rugged, unexpected start for the Cardinals. As you have prepared for this one, Heidi, what's your takeaway from what you've seen and heard and read about the Cardinals?
Well, I mean, the Cardinals addressed their biggest need from last year in starting pitching. Their offense just hasn't gotten going yet. You're seeing that from a lot of teams around the league, although it's kind of getting late to say it's early. What is it, April 26th today? So we're a month into the season. You want to start seeing guys getting things done, shaking off any of that rust that they maybe can chalk up to early season struggles. So I'd like to see more out of the Cardinals offense, really.
I think a lot of people would, Heidi, especially the fans here in St. Louis are very upset about it right now. And you're talking about that, the offensive struggles. Just what are you hearing on the national side? And I know that you're saying it's getting, late early here, but what are you hearing on the national side more about the struggles offensively? Is there anything in particular about what people are pointing out?
No, I mean, there's no real trends other than most people are just saying, it's early in the season. Some guys, a lot of players who are really great hitters get off to slow starts for whatever reason it is. But usually by the end of April, they're picking it up. I don't know with this Cardinals team. I mean, the offense wasn't necessarily their trouble last year. Obviously the guys on the corners are your stalwarts, and they're struggling, and the team's going to be kind of like as they go, you go, and Goldie and Arenado. We saw they're only a couple years removed from an MVP season for Paul Goldschmidt, and Nolan Arenado has a track record of being a great guy. So I do have confidence that those guys can turn it around. I don't think, the other side of things, what people are saying, I'm not going to even say it because I don't think it about them. But, yeah, I just think with this team, it's for whatever reason they're offensively, they just haven't gotten going.
For fans that tune in tonight to an Apple TV telecast, what do you guys try to do to bring the fan in or make it different than what they see every night? But some of the things that you guys try to do differently.
Well, I think our broadcast is one of the best, if not the best, in the game, most specifically because our picture quality is second to none. We're true 4K. If you tune in and watch, and by the way, if you don't have Apple TV Plus, don't come at me. Go to my social handle on X. I've got a free 2-month trial. Free. Can I say that again? Free 2-month trial. I say come for the baseball, stay for Ted Lasso in the morning show, all the other shows. But yes, just go to my Twitter/X profile, whatever we're calling it these days, and you can click on that link. But our picture quality is second to none. That's when I go to fields every week. That's what the players say. How is it so clear? How is it so amazing? Our graphics package is clean in the true Apple style. We go inside with player interviews. I know we're efforting someone to be mic'd up. I'm not quite sure who, to be honest. But I'll take you around the ballpark if there's something that warrants going around the ballpark. We're not going to just do things just to be gimmicky. We really like to take fans inside, though. I mean, I get to be right at the end of the dugout and on the eyes and ears for the broadcast down there. And, if you're not as familiar with the Mets, our play-by-play, Wayne Randazzo, worked for the Mets organization for 7 or 8 years before coming over to Apple TV. And, of course, now he's with the Angels as well. So he has a lot of insight on that team. Dontrell Willis is just one of the most colorful analysts. We walk into any ballpark, every player loves him. He has just so much knowledge, and he's so good at what he does. So I think it's a really entertaining broadcast, but you'll be stunned by the picture quality if you haven't watched it yet.
And Heidi, even though the Mets have maintained the high payroll, big-time difference between this year and last year, yet they're competitive, a couple of games over 500. What have the Mets done well so far?
Well, the Mets have been really streaky. I mean, they started their season with 5 straight losses, and people were wondering if it was disaster 5 games in, as they will do in New York, tend to overreact. But then they've stabilized a lot since then. They went on a hot streak. It's interesting with their team. They seem to be streaky early, but Carlos Mendoza has brought a lot of stability over. He was with the Yankees for a number of years before coming over to the Mets. And David Stearns, it's interesting. They were more measured in their spending this offseason. Obviously, they have the owner with the deepest pockets in baseball who's not afraid to spend when they need to. But sometimes in that aspect, less is more. You can't just – I have seen this over and over and over in the sport. You can't just compile the highest paid roster in the sport and expect everyone to gel and go out there. Baseball is a team sport. It's not basketball where you bring in LeBron James in his prime and all of a sudden that team's going to be a title contender. You've got to get buy-in. You've got to get that team to work as a cohesive unit. And I think that's something that we're even seeing with the Dodgers, who are hovering about 500 right now. They just haven't hit their stride. It takes time for teams to gel. I covered the 2011 Red Sox. I was the team reporter that year for that team. And on paper, that team heading into the season, everyone was ready to crown them World Series champions. They had the worst collapse. And you guys also, St. Louis, remember 2011
yeah, pretty well.
I do.
Yeah. Well.
that year wasn't good for Boston either. So, it's just I think that what David Stearns is doing is bringing in a more cohesive group, getting these guys to bond. And they're adding J.D. Martinez tonight, so that's not going to bode well for Miles Michaelis and the Cardinals because he's an offensive force, and now he's in the lineup to protect Pete Alonso. And I like what the Mets have done this year. I think that they're going to build and keep getting better.
Heidi, thanks for the free Apple subscription for a couple of months. I really appreciate it.
Anytime.
Just follow Heidi Watney, WATNEY, on X/Twitter, and you'll be able to see the Cards and the Mets, hear Heidi and the gang tonight on Apple TV. Thanks so much for the time. We appreciate it, and we know that you have the Cardinals a few more times on the schedule as the season unfolds. Hopefully we'll be able to talk again.
I'd love to. Yeah. Take care, guys.
Thanks, Heidi. Take care. Heidi Watney from Apple TV on 101 ESPN.
I'm interested in the start tonight with Miles Michaelis. He's got to be better. He's been knocked around a little bit, hasn't been as sharp as I'm sure he or the club would want to see. So kind of a big start early for him, I think, early in this season.
He really does need to bounce back. He has a 6.75 ERA in his last 3 appearances. On the other side, Jose Butto, he looks pretty good. So that's going to be a tough challenge for the Cardinals on that side as they still look for things offensively. And J.D. Martinez, as she mentioned, he's coming back. So I'm interested to see what he will look like. He's been around for so long, it feels like, doesn't it?
Great year for the Dodgers last year, though.
He sure did. I just want to see this team hit. I mean, when you look at where the Cardinals are right now, even with the last game that they won and took 2 out of 3 out of Arizona, they've got to hit. And I know we say this every single day, but the 2 guys on the corners, she just mentioned it, have to be Goldie, have to be Arenado. And if you get those guys to hit, things kind of fall into place, but you also need to have a solid start out of Michaelis, so we'll see how it unfolds tonight.
The other game on Apple tonight, the Chicago White Sox are playing. They're playing Tampa Bay. If you haven't paid attention to
that
the
might
Chicago
be enough
White
to
Sox,
return your subscription.
Your free one. Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah. White Sox are 3-22 heading into tonight's action.
I was that would mean that they're on pace for 40 wins, 41
roughly,
wins. Yeah. Ouch.
Yeah, not going to be great.
No.
Coming up, we're going to head down the stretch with Rocc and Roll here on 101 ESPN.
Hey everyone, it's Brooke here, and I want to tell you why I love the Missouri Athletic Club. One, I go there several times a week. I go over to the West location to work out. I work out with Christine twice a week. She's my personal trainer, and she's just been fantastic on my fitness journey. It's so much fun just talking to her and seeing her every single week. And also, they're helping me get back into the sport I played my entire life, and that is tennis. I actually went out and hit with Scott yesterday. It was so much fun, and he's helping me just work on my fundamentals because I need to. It's been a while. My backhand needed some work. My serve needed some work, and Scott has helped me so much with that. And it's just been a lot of fun to get involved back in tennis. They always provide a wonderful experience, and that's why I love my MAC.
Let's rock today.
We told you earlier about the Cardinals and Budweiser with their brand new, well, I guess it's not brand new, but it is a thing. And it's First Beer Fridays at Busch Stadium when the Cardinals are home. And the Cardinals are bringing it back. Who's ready for a ball game and a cold beer? Cardinals and Budweiser invite fans to Friday games in May and enjoy the first cold one on us. First Beer Fridays is back. Tickets start at just $15 and will be loaded with $13 in cards cash to use at a concession stand toward a purchase of your first Budweiser. First Beer Fridays in May at the ballpark. Matthew, what do you got for us?
Well, the Falcons are in a little bit of hot water this morning after what they did with their draft yesterday. And, well, their GM, Terry Fontenot, and their head coach, Raheem Morris, were asked by the media about what was going on in the draft when you made a call to Kirk Cousins.
Whichever one of you called Kirk when you were on the clock and you tell him about it, what's his reaction?
Well, that's a private. We wouldn't share that, and obviously
reactions are pretty private, right?
Yeah.
He got called on the clock. Obviously, because it's a sensitive time with the issues of what you got going on. It's never a right time to talk to a quarterback about those things, and reactions are always going to be private when it comes to those things, unless Kirk decides to tell you some of those things, or whatever the case may be. But he's a competitor, just like us all, and you can always expect those things to go just like you kind of think.
So, we all know now the report is that from his agent was that he was not happy on that phone call. So, we all know what he was like on the phone call now, according to his agent.
I love it. They signed Kirk Cousins to a 4-year mega deal worth $100 million guaranteed. They face potential serious fines because they potentially tampered with Cousins in the signing process. They say the heck with it, draft Michael Penix 8th overall. They had some serious needs on defense, and don't alert Kirk Cousins, which I don't care. You got $100 million guaranteed. Deal with it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah, right.
Deal
and you know
with
what?
it.
If you're worried about this guy beating you out, play better.
Yeah, just play better.
Yep.
Playing better will keep you on the field.
Really, defensive tackle is going to help you, all due respect to Aaron Donald. A rookie defensive tackle is going to help you, Kirk Cousins, win a Super Bowl this year. If I'm an organization, I would rather be prepared for 3 years down the road. And my anticipation is with my $180 million quarterback that I'm not going to be picking 8th.
Yes. I think the thing is that I agree with you guys that you have to think and work ahead. It's just the way that it all went down, I feel like, was just a little bit surprising there. And to your point, Dan, he is making a lot of money, so do you even need to talk to him about it? But just the dramatics of it, it doesn't look good from an outsider's perspective of when you're welcoming in somebody new into the organization. Now, to Michael Penix and his credit, he has said that he is willing to just sit back and learn from Cousins and let everything play out in that way. That was a very good job by him. But when you hear that Kirk Cousins' agent is saying that, then it starts some discourse, and obviously the conversation looks negative surrounding everything with the Falcons.
This, to me, seems to be the perfect guy, though, if from the outside looking in, if you're going to have someone mentor another player, looks like Kirk Cousins would be the perfect guy to do that.
Yeah. So one of the things he said, by the way, when he was signed was he really appreciated the synchronicity between Arthur Blank and Terry Fontenot and Raheem Morris and him. He said, I think a good organization needs that for the owner, GM, coach, quarterback to all be on the same page. Clearly they weren't here, but again, they're the ones that are putting together the team. He's not. He signed not to be the general manager, but to be the quarterback.
Now, long-term, smart. Short-term, I can make the case to go get some defensive help. And if you're going to sign Kirk Cousins and bring him in and say that's the missing piece offensively, which is kind of the case here, then I could also counter my argument and say, well, we needed some defensive help. We really didn't address that.
Chris Jones was taken with the 37th pick. He's the best player on the Chiefs defense.
I got it.
We got 7
find
rounds.
You can find it, but I'm just saying there's an argument to be made. That's all I'm saying. I agreed with the pick, but I can make the case the other way too.
Yeah, you always can, but people always talked about how they complained about the Jordan Love pick with Green Bay and how they didn't take a receiver in the first round. Then they wind up with 3 stud receivers that are taken in the second or third round. That's one of the things I do this. I'm guilty of this. Why didn't they take this player X? Remember, Dan, when I got mad when the Rams took Torrey Holt because I wanted him to take Champ Bailey?
You were fired up, man.
Right. But as it turns out, there was a second round in that draft, and they took Dre Bly, and they got the cornerback that they needed.
I can't believe it. Even on this topic, somebody texted and just goes, "It's ridiculous that you guys are defending this decision." Just an unbelievable text from somebody to us talking about.
I just gave the other side of it.
It's ridiculous.
You are.
And just it's I get it. We haven't had a team for 8 years now. Okay, just do me a favor. If you have internet, maybe go to the library and go to this website, Pro Football Reference, okay? And then click down to the Green Bay Packers. And look what the Packers have done since 1992, which is 02, 12, 22, 32 years. In replacing Brett Favre effectively with Aaron Rodgers by taking him 3 years before he played and then taking Jordan Love 3 years before he played. If you want to build a program that is sustainable, you always need to have a quarterback. And you don't want to wait until you're the Carolina Panthers and you finish 1-15. If you want to keep it going and you want to be 10-6, and then when Kirk Cousins is gone, you want to be 10-6 the year after that, you have a young quarterback ready to go.
All right, you ready for Anthony's rant?
Do we have this? Yes.
Rant.
Well, he says, do you remember, Danny Mac, when you and I talked about this situation? And we did talk about why not draft a QB following Kirk Cousins. He says, I love it. I love the pick. So if you're expecting him to go off and maybe he's lying to me.
To hear this.
Maybe he's lying to me. I don't think he is. And Stoltz likes the pick. So you'll have to tune in on the Fast Lane to find out if it's all true.
2 p.m. or whatever time they do that segment. 2 other things really quickly. You mentioned yesterday that sound about Adam Scheffler being like, this isn't a thing with the Chargers selecting J.J. McCarthy or a quarterback. Well, the reasoning why that draft, that betting odd got moved so much actually came out to light during the draft, and that was the Vikings and the Patriots called the Chargers to try to trade for Justin Herbert, and I guess then the bet was then a reaction to those calls. If they do trade Herbert, then obviously Harbaugh would have been in perfect position to pick J.J. McCarthy. So it was really interesting that kind of came out after the fact. Usually you hear the rumors and the smoke screens, but that one coming out after the fact, I thought that was pretty fascinating. And one other thing, if you're a big Mizzou guy and you love the Darius Robinson pick, we had H-Man on a little bit earlier. If you want to go to look at he's throwing a bunch of articles today about, well, Danny Mack, you got to read one of them because one of them is going to be about Marvin Harrison Jr., your favorite player ever, apparently. But also Darius Robinson. You can go to CardsWire.usatoday.com to check out all of H's Cardinal stuff.
Awesome. Good deal.
By the way, Darius Robinson is a 4.0 student with 2 degrees.
Yep.
And a hell of a guy. We've had him on the show a few times. He's a really nice young man, and he'll be fun to watch play for Arizona. Go ahead, Brooke.
I was just going to say we should try to get him on the show again because he is so nice. He seriously is so nice. I'm excited for him and this journey.
We'll get him. We'll get him next week, right, Matthew?
Yeah.
Yeah, Matthew's going to get him.
Good work, Matthew.
Yeah.
A lot of pressure on you, buddy.
So there was somebody else I want to get.
Hey,
we got to get Isaac.
Can you get Michael Penix Jr. as well? Can we just throw names at you and you go get these people?
I don't think Atlanta's going to respond to my email to them about in St.
Caleb
Louis
Williams?
about Michael Penix Jr. Cardinals, at least I can be like, hey, he's a Mizzou guy. This makes sense, right?
Yeah, I think we have his agent. So we'll
we
work
do
on
that
that.
too. Yeah,
we
you're
need to get Isaac next week, too.
All right.
Hall of Famer Isaac Bruce.
Whatever you do, don't get Ampley's agent.
Oh, yeah, don't do that.
Randy will get mad at you.
Yell at you.
Yelled at me many years ago. It still stings.
We
You
have.
still think about it, Dan?
I do all the time. We have a balloon party with T-Mac and Ajax coming up, followed by BK and Ferrario, and then the fast lane from 2 to 6. A great job today by our producer, audio, video engineer, the one, the only Matthew Rocchio.
Pleasure.
Brooke, are you giving people on the YouTube chat trouble?
Yep.
No.
Proud of you. I am.
I'm not doing anything.
I'm not doing anything.
I'm not doing anything over here.
Going harder than me.
Daniel, great
Pleasure.
job as always.
You too,
Been
sir.
a pleasure. And for all of us, we thank you for tuning in, texting in, and being a part of our show. And until Monday morning at 7, don't just have a great weekend. Have an American weekend.
That's right.
One of the reasons that we are so effective as a radio group here, Hubbard Radio, in the social media sphere is that we have 2060 Digital. 2060 Digital are a group of social media and digital experts that work right